Hello and welcome to The Late Shift. I'm Valentina and I'm joined with...
Jonah.
Saul. And James.
So here we are, boys. Number 5.
Yeah, I made it 2 in a row.
Yay! Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, sorry, no, I was just realising that you were looking at me with a smile on your face, and I was like, I have no idea. Oh, wait, because you weren't here for...
You look kind of cross, it's like, so does Saul not want me here?
No, he looked at you like, what are we celebrating?
Yeah.
There's nothing to celebrate here. So, it's number 5, which means we have to be better, stronger, sexier, you know, more accomplished, more proud of what we do here.
Well, we're not the Star Wars series. Empire doesn't have to be our best one.
Yeah, which was technically number 2, but we're going to label
Wait,
it
are we
5.
just saying... Wait.
It says 5 on it.
Yeah, it does say 5 on it.
Does that... Oh, right. Ah, yes. I was going to say, like, the middle point. Because that's what I was thinking. If you're describing this podcast, number 5 episode as the middle point, then we just need to stop at 10.
Yeah.
We get to 10 and we're there like, yep, we're done.
I mean, fingers crossed this isn't our Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, well, to be fair...
Or Last Jedi.
To be fair...
Shots fired.
Controversial, but true.
Shots fired.
To be fair, also, if we're going on episode 5, it should end really bleakly with the bad guy winning.
Who's the bad guy? Is it Saul?
I think
the bad guy
the
is.
bad guy winning would be us getting traction. That's the bad guy winning.
Yeah, technically, yeah. Yeah, it'd be like the dying days of the YouTube Republic, the Late Shift rise out of nowhere with their non-structural nonsense. And their...
How are we the Empire in the YouTube scenario?
Yeah, we're definitely not organised enough to be the Empire.
You know what we are? You know what we are? We're the Jawas. We're going around just picking up bits and bobs and trying to sell them to you. And then, like, when you really scrape away at it, our droids blow up. It's like...
So I guess that's a really good way of kind of explaining what this podcast is. It's us picking up random bits
From the
desert, bits that nobody really wanted, and just throwing them in your face.
And selling them to lonely people in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We love you, though.
Yeah.
We do. But we will turn up en masse, and you will buy. Because they've got guns, you know? Imagine they rock up in their big moving rust fortress, and they come out like, you want a droid?
Sandcrawler.
Yeah, all right. They come out in their big sandcrawler, and they all come out, and they lay out all their droids. They're going to loads of effort for just 2 people at the end of the day, and then you're like, I don't want any. And then you see one of the Jawas just pull out his little, you know, horn with a trigger, and he just starts gesturing it at you, and you're like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I might be in a bit of a tough situation here. I better buy that one. And they're like, that's a good one. You buy that bollocks one, and then you
But for double the price.
double the price. Yeah. Well, we're going to come in there, give you a bit of Utini. See how you like that? Yeah.
You don't want to know what Utini is.
No. And why they scream it with such wild abandon whenever they go to meet anyone.
If you're hearing our wonderful bed tonight, and you're wondering to yourself, where did they get such wonderful, realistic audio of sitting outside? It's because we're sitting outside. So enjoy the beautiful sounds of the English birds whizzing away, trying to get laid.
Whizzing. No, I'm just taking a slash, mate.
The distant rumble of traffic and aeroplanes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, a Chinook could genuinely come over. And they're like obnoxious helicopters. They're like 2 helicopters shaped like
You've just made it so much easier for everyone crazy enough to listen to this podcast to triangulate your location.
Good, let them.
Find out the paths of every Chinook in England. Like, seems like they're very dedicated fans, and then going through the flight paths and finding out, going through
And then
every
going
single
door
house.
to door along those flight pans and being like, no, do you do a podcast? Because I'll tell you what, when I open my door, I'm just going to say no.
I feel like they'll recognise you by the sound of your voice.
No, because I'm going to put on a voice. I'm
Which
going to put
speaking-
on my Japanese voice.
Don't do it.
Which, speaking of voices, obviously we've been gathering feedback. People, whether or not we wanted to hear what you thought of the podcast, we've been hearing it.
No, we're desperate for validation. We wanted to know.
Yeah, in a way. And something that
Leave your critiques at the door. This is validation town.
and something that came up is the fact that our voices sound too similar. And I agree. I definitely sound quite a lot like Jonah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It can be difficult for me to distinguish myself from his bassy tones.
I really like the idea that anyone that's listening to one of James's rants where we actually have input it just sounds like he's schizophrenic and he's talking to himself and raising up his own points. Well, actually, it's this. No, this.
I don't like that you're revealing this like episode 7 of Westworld type scheming that goes on behind the late show.
And which we'll only use when it's relevant.
Hey. Why is my stat of inane bullshit at 20? Oh, I didn't know they could go past 15. We should have lowered that. Sorry. I'm going to now flip out because I've seen into my own inner mind.
Let's raise it to 40.
The only way to deal with that is to play Dungeons and Dragons, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the only healthy way of dealing with that.
Can you imagine, now you say it, if you were genuinely like a Westworld host, yeah, and you just wonder what your stats would be, and you'd be like, why did you create me? Like, what purpose do I serve?
Yeah, not to sound, not to be like edgy, but like I would genuinely have so many questions for my maker. I'd be like, why so many contradictory stats?
Yeah,
Well, like, especially the hosts that are, you know, like excessive violence, not very smart, likes raping.
Yeah.
You just look at your stats like, that explains a lot.
Yeah, but how would you feel now if you looked behind the scenes, you saw your little tablet, and then you saw that your likes raping score was on like 5, and you'd be like, but I don't like raping. They're like, at the moment, but there is a certain set of criteria
Yeah, it's an
where that
arc.
5's going to kick into play, and you're like,
Arc.
really? Like, what? What's this homosexual experimenting at 18? What's going on? What? That's what's going to happen. I know what narrative I've got.
I've actually seen things like that now. You can because of DNA testing becoming so readily available, and it's getting cheaper as well now because they're selling our genetic material.
the government.
You can find out things like there's a service, I don't remember what it was called. I get very bored at work and watch videos.
Ancestry.
So obviously you've got Ancestry, you've got
23andMe.
23andMe, but there's one service that's tailored specifically for fitness and like those kind of goals. So you can submit your information and find out things like whether you're somebody who's like a
big boy.
Who's a big boy. You're like programmed to be a big boy, and if you're programmed to be a big boy, what would be the best strategy for you to be fit? What things do you have to combat? What foods are you like allergic to and things like that?
But if you've
which
got
is
that
really
professional
interesting.
twink bod,
Yeah.
you can go a different route.
Yeah.
Lots of swimming. Nice.
You're like your 18 stats just like
Kicking in.
You're just like you're watching the Olympics just coming up.
If I was there, that 5 would be kicking in right
You've got
now.
the male diving, and you just like your hands just tighten on your trousers, like.
And the theme starts playing. It's like dun 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 dun, dun and I'm just
You're like
sweating.
you're like looking at Tom Daly and you're like
Speedos.
Why are they so tight? But I love it.
well, I have no justifiable segue to lead us to today in history, but I feel like it's time.
Let's talk about the increasing shrinking of Olympic swim shorts and how it's leading our youth astray.
Do you think a bigger penis in Olympic swimming would help because it would act like a?
No, it
No,
would
I think it'd be
cause
an
more
anchor.
splash.
No, not diving, but swimming.
Oh, like a keel.
Yeah, like a keel. It'll keep you level.
Or in that case, I don't want to see what Michael Phelps is packing. If that's
think-
actually what's working.
I think
so,
it
like,
depends.
why do you think you're so good at swimming? My monster cock.
I think it depends on like on
Acts like a
on
rudder.
the shape of your bell end. I think quite a lot. The way the veins obviously shape around the shaft and then the bell end itself.
Okay.
So retarded.
I mean, they do have to shave like every hair off their body.
What?
They do. They genuinely, the swimmers do. Like, because they're like, it's drag. So you can imagine, like, one day it's like, you know, when you say Bolt slowed down to get the world record, because like Michael Phelps broke the world record, and he had a massive bush to do with it. I did it with afro pubes. What about you?
All right. So today in history, we are actually going to talk a little bit about history of clothing items today. Very exciting, which I guess in a way links to the swimming trunks. So I hope you're all happy. Today, for today in history, I've kind of focused the primary articles we'll be talking about in kind of like early history, and then our famous facts are going to be a little bit more contemporary. So we start off today in history with the year 1310, where shoes were made for both right and left feet. I found that quite an interesting comment, because I wonder, did everybody just wear Was there one mould and you just had to make do?
Probably.
I really hope that also that worked with gloves as well, where everyone just had two left-handed gloves and everyone's like, because
turn one round.
if anyone's put the wrong glove on the wrong hand, it feels so awkward.
Yeah, it's wrong. Absolutely.
Especially if it's like a rubber glove, like a thick, heavy-duty rubber.
Do you think then it would be a glove
like a
with two
marigold.
thumbs?
Or all thumbs?
Oh, can you imagine someone's hand if it was all thumbs?
Oh.
That's a weird
Triggered.
thought.
Pretty grippy.
Yeah, grippy. Like, it would get onto you and never let go.
Very good at
Be like a face hugger.
That sounds terrible. It's as awful as that picture of somebody who replaced all toes with one big toe, if you've seen it.
No.
Floating around the internet. It's the most
Oh, yeah, the one big
disgusting-
toe.
It's the most disgusting thing. You just think the size of that toenail, like you could use it as a tool to harvest. You could use it to mow the lawn like a
To be
scythe.
fair, like, probably, I imagine, like, early, like, kind of, Homo erectus, you know, because they used to dig so much, probably having big spade fingernails was probably a sign of, like, virility. They're like, oh, check out Groggy, your big spade hand can dig many roots and berries from ground.
Berries from ground.
Well, yeah, they sometimes fall and then you eat the rotten ones, mate. Not all of us are alphas.
He's just spaced out because they're fermenting. He's just really drunk. like when you see a horse that's eating
I'm the
rotting
alpha
apples.
in my head.
He's just lying there on the floor, just like half in a ditch, just like with this like berry mush around his mouth, just like passed out.
So then in 1609, Shakespeare's sonnets were first published in London, perhaps illicitly by publisher Thomas Thorpe. I found the story of Thomas Thorpe quite interesting because I didn't know anything about Shakespeare's sonnets and the fact that there was such an I didn't know that there was such an uproar about the fact that Thomas Thorpe disgraced himself by publishing them without permission, because you don't really get that with other pieces of work. Like take Anne Frank. I don't know if you've heard about it recently, but the Museum of Anne Frank in Amsterdam recently discovered that a couple of pages within her diary were actually stuck together, and within those pages they uncovered a couple of dirty jokes that she wrote down. And yeah, so despite all the efforts of her dad trying to censor her book, there were some dirty, dirty jokes in there.
Such as? Please tell me you have examples.
So what Anne Frank, I think, wrote down in the diary is that she said, like, why are German girls in like Holland or something? And it said, and the answer was to act as mattresses for the soldiers. Yeah. And the museum basically came out with...
Anne Frank!
She's laying down roasts.
And the museum came out with a statement that it's a very interesting discovery that she had that side to her, but that doesn't discredit her as a person at all. And I think that's really stupid because she's a person. Of course she's allowed to make dirty jokes. Just because she made a couple of dirty jokes doesn't discredit
And can we
her
also
work
point out,
at its
pretty
value.
fire dirty jokes. Like,
That's a pretty...
Anne Frank 1, Holland 0, quite frankly.
No, German girls.
German girls. No, but what I find crazy about that is the fact that, you know, nobody came in and shat on her dad for the fact that he published the diary without her permission. Nobody was like perhaps illicitly publishing the story. Nobody shat on him for cutting out massive bits of the diary where she diddles herself. You know, why is Thomas Thorpe getting all the blame?
The original diary, she talks about discovering herself, which,
Oh,
as you
wow.
imagine, you would
I've
do
actually-
as a teenager in an attic.
Yeah. I've actually been to the Anne Frank Museum in Amsterdam, and some of the digital showcases. So obviously they show you like bits of her handwriting. It's within her house where she was hiding, and it's empty, and you can see how small the space is without anything in it. So it's crazy to imagine it. But the thing that really, really annoyed me was the fact that there's loads of like digital displays of people who have known her, who have survived, talking about what it was like. And there was that boy. I don't know if you've read the entire diaries. There was a boy that she had a crush on. He was kind of her boyfriend, and he was talking about. He's like, I think he was like in his late 60s, and he was talking about like, oh, if Anne Frank survived.
Not at the time.
No,
Yeah, just make that clear. He wasn't at the time.
He was talking about how, oh, if Anne was still alive, we'd probably be married by now. And I was just like, fuck off, stop clinging on to her fame. Oh, I'm the guy who she had a crush on, and I definitely would have been with her. It's as atrocious to me as Justin Bieber writing in the diary that she would have been a believer. Like, go away.
Not again. Need to reiterate. Not the actual Anne Frank diary. In the guest book. In the guest book, he wrote that. Not. He didn't just like he ripped apart those sticky pages after the dad and just And then
That's a really good. That's a really good joke. I'm gonna write that one down.
like
Steal
an arrow, just like true believer.
Plays it again.
But yeah, so Thomas Thorpe to this day is widely discredited by his colleagues about the fact that he published it without.
I doubt his colleagues are still.
Well,
still
there's-
insulting
Well, no,
him.
You can be
James,
someone's colleague.
it's an in-joke in the publishing industry is that everyone just dicks on Thomas Thorpe.
Is it actually?
No, everyone's forgotten about his name and Val's wrong.
Ah, okay. I'm not sure which is the real answer there, but Thomas Thorpe went on to
It's a
make.
choose your own adventure, you pick.
Okay, I'm gonna pick. Turn to page 13. The industry's still making fun of him.
Okay.
I like.
Where's next page, Jonah?
Look,
You die in a
You're
well.
I was gonna say you're dead.
Rocks fall, everyone dies.
Yeah.
I just like to apologise beforehand because I feel like sometimes Stay in History turns to Val's moment of redeeming people who've been dicked over by history. I think Thomas Thorpe had every right to publish those fucking sonnets. Like, you know, if he didn't publish them, where the fuck would they have gone? Who would have given permission for them to be published at that point? Nobody. Who would have heard these sonnets that basically made Shakespeare as we know him now? Who would have done it?
I mean...
Was he dead at the time?
No. In 1609, he was still going.
Yeah. So, surely the logical answer to your question is Shakespeare himself.
Did he self-publish? I don't think he self-published.
Maybe there was a reason.
No, he was under like royal commission. Why do you think like Richard
Yeah.
III's like the grisly old hunchback who smells of piss?
And killed his nephews.
Yeah, Henry Tudor, a cock you couldn't miss.
That's the
And
maybe.
obviously
maybe
Queen Elizabeth said, "Oh, very good."
No, she was dead by that point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, in 1609.
No, yeah, she was-
when did you write Richard III?
Shakespeare buffs out there, who I know you're listening, who are just frothing at this point, let us know in the comment section below. Was Queen Elizabeth still alive listening to Richard III? I think she was. I genuinely think she was. Because after she dies, he goes on to start writing the Tempers, which is lame. Everybody gets forgiven in the end, and look at the silly person with learning difficulties. It thinks it's human. That's the comedy.
Okay, so
I have dreams too. But you're so malformed.
so loud.
That's the play.
I have ears.
I'm Caliban in this situation. I don't know my own strength. I've got that special needs strength.
like Lenny from Mice and Men.
That was a comedy too. Like, oh man. The ending of that book had me in stitches.
Mice and Men, not my favourite book.
Never read it.
No, I wouldn't. No, yeah, I agree.
It's not.
I wasn't saying no. It's my favourite book. It should be
Have
yours.
you heard they recently took To Kill a Mockingbird off the curriculum because it was
Yes.
making people feel uncomfortable, which of course is the entire point of the book. Like the book is all about massive racism in the South of America, and people are like, it's a bit uncomfortable actually, rather not.
Lovecraft is still good though.
Lovecraft's still good. Yeah, yeah.
That's not in any syllabus.
Oh yeah, can you imagine
No,
that?
it's not.
Oh, that cat was really something that adds to the curriculum.
The cat in Rats of the Walls, who is of course a main character. So Lovecraft didn't object to that. It's like if you were to go find and replace that word, and it would just be the entire page would just glow back at you in this racist beam, and people are like, it was the times. It's like no. Yeah. I like Lovecraft, but Lovecraft was racist, massively so. Because he loved writing letters explaining that to everyone. It was like the postman would be like, Lovecraft, you racist. He'd be like, I'll write you a letter and explain it perfectly, and it'll be preserved for everyone to see.
Okay, so then in 1883, Krakatoa, the volcano, begins to erupt, later killing up to 36,000 people. This was quite a lot for that time, but what I wanted to talk about...
Not now. Not now. It's like 36 people die. Oh, wake me up tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're like me, and for you...
Big numbers.
Volcanoes erupting nowadays and killing thousands.
Give me the numbers.
Thousands of people is fine. Like we're in the millions by this stage.
If you're like me and 24 dead hookers was
Oh, yeah.
from that creepypasta is not that impressive. Maybe Krakatoa will hit you right where you need it. The reason I'm...
No, but you're saying that 36,000 still isn't enough
Like
for you.
it wouldn't be enough today's standards.
No, but what I'm saying is that
Unless the entire of China breaks off and explodes, then don't even
James-
bother my newsfeed.
James, casualties is like money, Old money is always worth more than it sounds.
Yeah.
But I just love the.
I'm saying that proportionately
Imperial
for
casualties.
where it happened, it was a devastating.
Well,
it was
The entire
devastating
island
thing.
sank, so it's pretty devastating.
They did build their homes in a volcano, though.
Yeah.
Which, if you read your Bible, is right there with putting it on the sand. And the third guy built his house in a volcano.
Laughed because it was at the moment stable, but his future children would suffer immensely. Well, when Krakatoa actually exploded, the pop that it sent off could be heard in London.
Yeah, heard around.
Which is what I'm going to talk about now. So it was devastating for the people who lived there, and the volcano lay dormant, I think, for decades before it erupted. They didn't expect something like this to happen at all. It seemed stable. I mean, you would think it seemed stable if they were building houses there, but because of the huge,
not many people do it.
Tens of thousands.
Jeffrey, we just built a bridge across the lava.
But because of the vast volcanic ash cloud spreading into the air, it's caused these strange days everywhere around the local area. What I'm saying is that the day looked very weird. The light was orange for ages, and I don't know if you remember recently with the volcano that erupted in Iceland and having loads of flights that were going anywhere. That was very small by comparison to this because
Iceland didn't sink. Yeah.
Iceland didn't sink. One.
Quit your whinging, Iceland. You haven't sunk yet.
They have had volcanic eruptions which have blown chunks of their island off.
Yeah. But not the whole thing. So Krakatoa 1, Iceland 0.
They have got a big crack down the middle of it.
Krakatoa, gone. Just saying. Not many Krakatoans left, are there? Because it's gone. It's the bottom of the sea. It went pop and it disappeared like a zit.
The eruption of this volcano was really important both in science and in arts. And the reason why it was in both is because during the winter of 1883, poet Gerard Manley Hopkins was feeling a bit sad for himself.
I like this middle name Manley.
Yeah.
Manley.
And I'm feeling very glum.
Yeah, he was.
Almost as glum as those Krakatoans. They're all dead.
He described his symptoms as always drowsy and incapable of reading or thinking to any effect, which is honestly #me.
Hashtag laudanum.
So,
do you think you should maybe be sober for a day? Lord, no.
Hashtag relatable.
Around the time of this happening, he was working at a boarding school in Lancashire, where much of his time was spent steering his pupils through their university entrance exams. Obviously,
drowsily though. Oh, he's right down. I'm so tired all the time.
Just find him just lying down in the middle of the pathway, just asleep.
Well, at least the canings weren't too bad.
But just fell asleep pointing a finger of the correct building.
And he couldn't think to any great effect, so he'd be like, "Sir, what's the answer?" "I don't have the foggiest, actually." Let's all have a lie down and think about it. Now, that's the kind of teacher I would love to be.
So the volcano erupted in August, and he became instantly so interested with it. And throughout November and December, the skies still flared through with virulent shades of green, blue, copper, and magenta, which he described as more like inflamed flesh than the lucid reds of ordinary sunsets.
So that's from the man that can't think.
Yeah. Also, do you like the idea that there's this drowsy boarding school teacher who doesn't do much until Krakatoa blows up, and then he's like, brainwave. And he's just suddenly full of life. It went boom!
That's literally what happened, though. He was so excited. It's like it sparked up his life again.
See, so if you're at home and you're thinking, how do I get motivation? Wait for the local volcano to erupt.
Yeah. Well, it worked for Pliny the Younger. He was like, I'm going to make my big career about this Pompeii thing.
And because he was so interested in observing this, he actually wrote a very detailed report that was later published in the science journal Nature. That's still going, and it gives us a very detailed account of what the sky looked like at the time. Because obviously, as a poet and a scholar, he had a good grasp of the English language and was able to express things as perhaps more accurately than some other people.
Oh, well, we don't take account of the poor peasant. Like, this guy's different. Thin, anonymous.
Just to give us an idea of what it looked like to him, I'm going to read like a short bit of what he describes. And he said, above the green in turn appeared a red glow, broader and burlier in make. It was a softly brindled, and in the ribs of bars the colour was rosier. In the channels, where the blue of the sky shone through, it was mallow colour.
You lost me. What's a burly red look like?
I'm not sure.
It's like, you know, the face of that guy who's going to lamp you in the pub when you've like knocked him over. That's a burly red. And you look him up and down and you go, I cannot take this man.
So here's the short piece of what he wrote. So he says, above the green in turn appeared a red glow, broader and burlier in make. It was softly brindled, and in the ribs or bars the colour was rosier. In the channels where the blue of the sky shone through, it was a mallow colour. Above this was a vague lilac. The red was first noticed 45 degrees above the horizon, and spokes or beams could be seen in it, compared by one beholder to a man's open hand. By 4:45, the red had driven out the green, and fusing with the remains of the orange, reached into the horizon. So he was writing things like this, and it was apparently very useful for people.
I still prefer Finn's one, where he, that peasant that you mentioned, where he was.
Sky's different.
Sky's different, but no, he's like, it reminds me of the time I tried to use paint in my blanket fort.
And my wife came down all angry, said, "No more blanket forts."
And I emerged like a newborn baby, just covered in red.
I am the god of the rainbow.
Why haven't people tried to paint a blanket fort,
Because you want
with a roller.
You don't want unpainted blanket. You want your blanket, because a blanket fort's never made to last. You're supposed to go and put it back on your bed. You're not supposed to in wet paint like this is a mistake.
I love the fact that you're in a blanket fort and then the blanket collapses. You just get soaked.
Well, my friend, you look like Krakatoa fell on your head.
So obviously he was really excited about the volcano, but he wasn't the only one. There was also Algernon Swinburne, Robert Bridges, and Alfred Tennyson. They wrote some lovely poems that I don't care to read. But
so we get the myopic school teacher from Lincolnshire. We don't get Alfred Lord Tennyson.
The person who sounds like he's suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. I'm just so sleepy with this open fire without a chimney.
Tennyson,
Lord knows, I just think I'm going to have another nap.
I can give you 4 lines.
Mother hasn't woken up from her one yet. It looks rather uncomfortable. Her tongue's gone blue.
I can give you 4 lines of Tennyson if you so insist. And he says, "Had the fierce ashes of some fiery peak been hurled so high they ranged above the globe, for day by day through many blood-red eve the wrathful sunset glared." And that was from St. Telemachus, published in 1892.
Yeah.
Many painters took interest in this because it offered them something very interesting. But in particular, in Oslo, the sunsets helped inspire one of the world's best-known paintings. Edvard Munch was walking with some friends one evening as the sun descended through the haze. He said it was as if a flaming sword of blood slashed open the vault of heaven. He recalled, "The atmosphere turned to blood. With glaring tongues of fire, the hills became deep blue, the fjord shaded into cold blue, among the yellow and red colours that garish blood red on the road and the railing. My companions' faces became yellow-white. I felt something like a great
Not him,
scream."
though. How brave.
I
My
felt
companions were all like, "Ah!" But I was like, "Nah, that's cool. The hell's just coming for us. I welcome thee with open arms."
He said,
Not like these two fine pussies.
He said, "I felt something like a great scream, and truly, I heard a great scream." And so his painting, The Scream, was
I
inspired by
smelt a great
Krakatoa.
scream.
Scream my big old pussy friends who just cat themselves. Unlike me, bastion of male virility.
My giant testicles dragging along the landscape.
Ain't take more than a big volcano wind to unnerve me.
He says, but actually, as it happens, the final eruption of Krakatoa was one of the loudest recorded sounds we've ever had. So, yeah, they were actually big pussies.
Yeah.
Because when you hear the loudest thing ever produced on Earth at that time,
Yeah.
that makes
everyone's
them
there
pussies.
just like, right, stiff up a
Whatever.
lip.
No, but that's not me saying this. It's like he described it. It was like my friends were really scared. Didn't say him. It wasn't like we were all scared because it was like.
Well, he couldn't
boom.
see his own face, could he?
Well, he could have at least, bigged up the team and been like, yeah, it was unnerving. Not just be like, I got like wet nips over there and the screamy bee over here cacking themselves and running for the hills while I'm just there, rip my shirt off and display my abs and be like, nature,
Swedish
have a
names.
dose of your worst creation.
So I just thought I didn't know about the eruption of Krakatoa at all. I've heard.
You didn't hear it? You didn't hear it when it happened?
No, I'm not old enough, unfortunately.
No, it just kept echoing. You can still hear it now.
When you have that weird reverberation sound in your head, it's Krakatoa.
No, that's tonight. That's tinnitus.
Yeah.
Nah, the ghost of Krakatoa. That's what I'm calling it
A
from now on.
boo.
My doctor hates me because I deal in metaphor. What's wrong with your ears? The ghost of Krakatoa.
Fuck off, James.
I would love to refer to things in just vague metaphors when at a hospital.
What's wrong? Montezuma's Revenge. Well, actually, they get that one. They'd be like the squits then. That's what it's called.
Squits
Yeah,
is too
Squits,
onomatopoeic.
Squits is yet another euphemism.
Yeah. I feel like a doctor. If your doctor doesn't know what the squits is, if they force you to say massive diarrhea, like they're just being cruel at that point. That's the kind of doctor I'd be. I'd be like, what's wrong? Oh, bathroom problems in detail, visceral detail, and I don't want to. Never mind the 6 or 7 students here are making notes. Like, ask for visceral detail, like underlined.
So, as I said, to wrap it up, I thought it was a really interesting story about Krakatoa because I didn't know about the explosion. I didn't know the eruption, and I really, for sure, did. And I definitely didn't know that the scream was inspired by it.
No, I didn't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense why the colouring is so different. Because I've been in art lessons where they've been like, "Isn't it really a really dramatic colouring?" And I really want to go back there, go back in time to year 9 and talk to my art teacher, Mr. King, and be like, "Fuck off."
You didn't tell me it was a meme.
Krakatoa.
I feel like when you've had an argument with someone and then the next day you're in the shower and you're like, damn it, that's what I should have said.
Yeah, so now I'm like years later, I'm like, fuck you, Mr.
I feel
King.
like it would be way more interesting in art lesson if they told people like the story behind it. Be like, the scream is essentially one of the original memes making fun of someone because clearly that scream was what he saw his companions as.
Guys, the problem is that you're talking about art lessons. If any teacher doesn't give a shit and has no lesson plan, it's an art teacher.
It's a good
turn up
point.
and colour in, okay? If you don't show up, I don't care.
Oh, I see you've decided to do your toucan's beak all pink. How original.
I mean, you guys know, like, of all the teachers you had at school, the ones who gave the least shits were all art teachers. Because in the end, they were like, if you don't want to do this lesson, no one cares.
Yeah. No. I always enjoyed art. Like, because I used to just doodle.
Didn't your art teacher tell people to fuck off?
Yeah, he was great. Mr. Kugluski. Edit that over. Just edit Mr. Kugluski over, please.
Yeah, James went to St. Petersburg School of Art.
Hey, Mr. Kugluski, you will use only crayon.
Kogluski sounds more like a Polish surname, not to be pedantic.
Why can't a Pole be in Russia, you racist?
Because he'd be chased out, of course.
He's not Jewish.
You don't know that.
Or homosexual.
Spicy.
If he's an art teacher, then we're more likely.
So we were saying that there's a homosexual Polish art teacher in Russia that James, for some reason, was going to the school.
Who insisted we painted on crayons only.
Painted on crayons?
Yeah.
God, that's
he was
like tiny.
niche.
That's terrible. Moving forward in time, 1873, we have Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis patenting the first blue jeans with copper rivets. So
They were originally tent material.
So jeans were actually designed to be work trousers, and it was a huge revolution in not necessarily in fashion, but in
Agriculture.
in agriculture, because it was a practical piece of clothing to wear, but also in the history of textiles, because the material changed. Obviously, jean is a very specific material, different from, say, cotton and other things.
Do you reckon
precise.
jean is one of the single most kind of popular materials? That's obviously cotton but I mean in terms of the style and pattern, jeans must be one of the most common pieces of fabric.
Yes.
There's probably someone out there who's actually,
I think-
I'm a fabric historian, and I'll tell you no.
I think cotton is probably in more things.
No, but I mean, because obviously cotton can be so many things.
Well, nowadays, obviously, everything's
Nylon.
nylon and polyester
Polyester.
and things like that, like a combination of things, amalgamation, making a t-shirt. In
The good stuff that sticks to you when there's a fire.
I just find it interesting that
instead of denim, which just burns straight off and then you're there naked.
I'd rather be found encased in my own clothing, mummified.
maybe I'm not informed enough about this, but I find it interesting that the person who essentially patented, or I guess you could say invented, jeans as a piece of clothing is a brand that's still going. So we have Levi jeans. That's really common, and he is Levi Strauss, and he's the original creator of those jeans.
Well, the first guy to patent it is often, especially it seems with the wretched Americans. We love you, but it's just the way it's like Thomas Edison's the worst. It's it's mine because I signed the paperwork.
Do you guys want to guess what jeans were originally called?
Pling plangs.
Because take into account that they were used to, obviously, they were work trousers, essentially. What do you
boys.
think? Worky boys? What do you think, Saul?
I think it was just a word very similar to jeans, like Johns.
Janes. Let's move the letters around.
What do you think, Jonah?
I'm convinced they were used a lot in field work. I have no idea. I'm not going to answer. I don't want to be wrong.
They were called waist overalls.
How mundane.
God, were they named by Germans? It's like say overalls for the vest.
Done. Move on to tomorrow's work. Today.
Because obviously, overalls were
Maximum efficiency.
It was actually Jacob Davis who came up with that name, so you can understand why Levi's became more popular for jeans.
Man,
You want some waist overalls? You want jeans? I'm gonna go with the jeans, man.
Also, because waist overalls, if it's said to you and not written down, you're like, wait, overalls that were like thrown away? They're waste? They're made of waste?
Oh yeah.
or waist overalls, as in they stop at the waist, so it's just the top half, like an apron.
It's a bib at that point. It's just a bib. It's an adult bib. Like, I don't want to get my top dirty when I eat.
Just arseless chaps.
So going from
It's like dungarees, or you see people. I'm sorry, but like dungarees to this day, I look at them and I just think of big toddlers. Like when someone's wearing like full dungarees, like going around, I'm just there like, what's the story in Balamori? I'm an adult.
Even those like American Dust Bowl farmers.
Yeah,
From
I
like
look
the
at them.
Steinbeck novels.
I drive right up to their house, but I make sure I'm in a quick car, and I'm like,
Say-
you look like a toddler. The shotgun pellets like ricocheting into my little Nissan Micra.
She's
She
strong
can
to
take
gut.
it. She can take it. Like it's that Japanese bubble design. Yeah.
So going from one unexpected event, the creation of jeans, to
I feel like that was expected. It wasn't like someone just walked in and just went, "Bleh."
Certainly
Oh, Gene!
compared to the eruption of Krakatoa.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the sound of
Scientists,
jeans being sold heard around the world.
We didn't see it coming, but someone just made jeans. Out the blue.
My friends are terrified. I'm not.
I get what you
I'm,
did
not,
there.
I'm great and brave. Any ladies out there see my number attached?
New fabric.
So new fabric, an erupting
People screamed.
volcano, shoes, Shakespeare sonnets, and then we have a 6-ton chandelier in 1896 of the Palais Garnier Opera House in Paris falls on an unsuspecting crowd, resulting in the death of one and the injury of many others. Can you imagine?
Can I point out, one thing you always see in accident articles is the term unsuspecting. And I'm like, find me the place where
Definition
someone
by-
was suspecting a chandelier,
Someone-
was just there like, take me.
I prefer the versions like some French, because you said opera house. Yeah. Some French toff. Every time he walks into that like grand atrium, just edges around the side.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
You fuck.
It's
what
going to
should we-
come down one day.
I can't wait. No, but that's the thing.
That's the thing, you can expect it.
No,
like,
no. If you're
Not the
expecting,
people being underneath it. They clearly, as I said, they're not all just there looking up like, today's the day, today's the day.
there wasn't this one French guy sat there watching an opera with a pocket watch, just sitting there like a few more seconds, just gets out of his seat and just walks out.
Sorry, excuse
as
me,
it's-
need the bathroom.
Smash.
Fools.
It's all who rigged it.
No, but I mean, we've all experienced that feeling. Like if we're walking, the feeling when something's
Yeah.
suspended above your head, where you think like, oh, like you just get worried that what would happen if it fell.
I
on my
thought you
head.
meant the feeling of being in a French opera house and going, I wish something would kill me.
I guess that's true also. And then another, perhaps more interesting, perhaps more influential and historically important event is that in 2003, the reality series America's Next Top Model was created by Tyra Banks.
Skip.
Can we veto that?
Skip as a moment.
In 2013, Yahoo purchased Tumblr for $1.1 billion, which if you go on certain parts of Tumblr, you will realize Yahoo probably regrets.
I know. I feel like more people know Tumblr than know Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and there's
Yahoo's-
me still using Ask Jeeves.
I'm sorry, Mr. Saul, I just don't have the RAM to help you today.
It's been
No,
crushed under Google.
they
Like,
deleted all my servers. You'll let me live on your hard drive, won't you?
creepy bastards.
Please, sir, I need to live on your computer because they've deleted me from all the safe houses. Not so server houses, not safe houses. It's not like Oz Jesus in a bunker like Google's out there. He's going to bump me off. It's for my own protection.
Google's like, I don't even know who you are.
Oh, I'll tell you what. It's Alexander Graham Bell's birthday today, and I'm going to kill someone.
And that means that was the end of Today in History, and that brings us to Famous Facts. Famous Facts, of course, being a segment where I go through history and find people who were born on this day, pick out random bits from their biography, and ask you to match up the person with the little fact about them.
It's facts that are famous.
Oh, this is actually the decider of who wins because we got 2 each last time.
Yes, we did. I decided to.
Yeah, we all got 2
I decided to not just focus on the differences between these people this time around, but also on something that unites them. So, of course, their birthday being the same is quite significant to
That's
some.
what I was going to guess.
I was going to say they're all James L. Jones.
Surely every week that was one similarity.
But
Well, they were all James L. Jones. I was born on every day.
Who was you born on every day?
James L. Jones, he adamantly clings to every day's my birthday.
It's my excuse to eat cake.
It's like his jaded family, like, happy birthday to James. He's like clapping.
It's like that episode of Supernatural with the demon girl with
Who makes every day a birthday while she's killing a family. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Not that James L. Jones does that.
went like in a little like princess dress.
It's like
playing with
wife
his
of mine, I
dollhouse.
noticed that you didn't have that much gusto in your voice, so let me sleep.
So this time around, I'm gonna look about what it means to be born on this day. So today is
Nothing.
the 20th of May, which means that people born on this day are a study in contrasts, according to a website called.
Some peddler of bullshit.
Well,
That's their subtitle. We'll go with their official title. Wise one.
This peddler of bullshit. I don't want to be sued for defamation, allegedly. Is
Because they listen to this.
of
Yeah,
course.
because I'm sure that the
Guys,
astrology
we
community.
don't want to get on the wrong side of these people.
I'm sure the
because
astrology
this
community-
information comes from the website called trustedpsychicmediums.com.
So there goes,
Trusted.
There goes your entire thing you were saying about
Defamation.
and defamation, because you're like, look, I don't want to say anything. This is the website. Follow the link. Mock them viciously.
but
And also,
maybe-
I'd like to see
Well, no,
them.
James, they know they're being mocked because their spirit guide told them so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
An owl landed on the window.
To
It was
be
like,
fair,
a group of weirdos on the internet will make fun of you today, and they like woke up from a slumber like,
to be fair, since they're psychics, they probably knew that we were going to attempt to defame them.
So have they sued us already?
yeah,
They've
depending.
sued us in the
Preemptive
past.
strike.
Yeah. Can you imagine winning? What a
Some
court
lawyer,
case?
that's not how the
What
law
a court
works.
case, guys! Like,
This is not Minority Report.
Because obviously, in defamation of character, yeah, you have to prove obviously that you are not what the person is saying you are. So imagine how cool it'd be if you'd be like, so that you're suing them because they claim that your psychic is bullshit, and you'd be like, well, if you look, Your Honourable Judge, I put in the lawsuit 2 weeks before they said it. Oh, psychic proven. Wob 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 wob. Court case of the century.
So, Trusted Psychic Mediums tells us
Right.
that people born on the 20th of May are a study in contrasts. On the one side, they can be very serious, calm, collected, responsible, stable, and predictable, but they can also behave and look like the typical Taurus, which is the sign associated with May the 20th. They can be very.
I love this.
They
It's
could
like,
be like the typical tourist. So
They could be one thing,
Or
they
the
could be.
I win.
no. But did you say tourist?
No, Taurus.
Oh,
So on
tourist.
the-
No, sorry, I was thinking like they could be the
Calm,
like,
collected, taking lots of pictures all the time.
No, but that's
Marvelling at random things.
Well, it sounded like that they were
Lost.
different. So it's like you could either be calm, collected, or you could be one of those tourists, just rowdy,
Yeah.
constantly enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Who
So-
just visits from another star sign, like.
So, supposedly, the reason for why people born on the 20th of May are a study in contrast, as they've put it, is because the 20th of May is on the precipice between Taurus and Gemini. So, on the one hand, they are stable and predictable, and on the other hand, they're curious, open minded, erratic, and engaged in unusual behaviour.
Like everyone. Vague.
Yeah.
Like-
They
So-
could be a thing, but they could not be a thing. But they're also a thing.
So,
Pay me.
so it's common.
Sometimes
It's
do you
common
feel
for
happy,
people.
sad, depressed, angry.
Although, to be fair,
A
it's
lemon?
It's not just mediums that do it. I remember, James, you showed me the NHS questionnaire for "Do you have depression?"
Yeah,
So-
and it's
Oh,
basically
God,
like,
so-
it's- yeah,
yeah.
do you
it's
feel you sleep too much? Do you feel you sleep too little? Do you feel you eat too much?
What's your
Do you feel
favourite
you eat
colour?
too
Is it
little?
red or blue or purple or green or yellow? If yes for any of those, you are depressed.
yeah. Here's a helpline. Go seek help because yellow is not the right answer.
No one likes yellow.
So people.
Flame colour.
So according to Trusted Psychic Mediums, people we're going to discuss today are.
As opposed to psychic mediums you just can't trust.
Yeah, exactly. Only the Trusted
You
Psychic
will have
Mediums.
lots of money
I want you
and
to
give
know-
to me.
I want you to know that I pick only the most reputable sources. So they say
No, you pick mediums.
they're trusted psychic
I don't give a
mediums.
shit. They're peddlers of horse apples. I know I hate golfers, but I hate these people more.
What about psychic golfers? I watch this go in. Doesn't even look. Just goes straight off into the sandbag.
This is where my
Jerry,
this is
Jerry,
where
you're
my
2
5
inches
points
away.
of raping triggers.
What are you gonna hump him into submission? Didn't she just coming?
She's just in the hole. It just looks
In
like
the
he's
bunker.
lying down, just gyrating. Like an Elvis robot that's fell over. I want to go to that amusement
I
park.
don't want to go to this Chuck E. Cheese anymore.
Nothing but a hound dog.
Lying all the time, peddling your bullshit.
Playing golf.
So, as they say, on the other hand, these people can be curious, open-minded and erratic and engaged in unusual behaviour. This is supposedly the Gemini side, and it's common for Taurus people to fear and downplay their unpredictable aspect. However, it's this unpredictable side that actually leads to progress as far as personal development goes. So here we go. Let's go to our 5 contestants today. I feel like I should say I picked these individuals before I looked up the May 20th profile.
Because you want to see if they fit the profile.
Yeah, so I
Fit
want
the
to see
bill.
maybe...
Do you want to put these trusted psychics
It's,
to
a,
the
blind,
test?
it's a blind sample.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's typical of them to downplay their erratic behaviours, like
Exactly.
everyone.
Yeah. There's not many people who just like just there like, what did you do? Tattooed my nipples with the image of the other nipple.
So, shall we look into our blind sample? So, 1935, we have...
Stevie Wonder.
Next, Helen Keller.
Ray Charles. And David Blunkett. People on this day tend to be blind.
was it,
Then I'd believe these trusting psychics.
Louis Braille.
1935, Jose Mujica. He's a Uruguayan guerrilla leader and politician and the 40th president of Uruguay. 1946, we have Cher, American singer-songwriter, producer and actress. 1970, we have Louis Theroux, Singaporean English journalist and producer. 1981, we have Iker Casillas, a Spanish footballer. 1992, we have Jack Gleeson, Irish actor, famous for playing Joffrey Baratheon.
And the little kid in The Dark Knight who's like, I'm scared!
So off the bat, do you feel like...
I'm more scared!
So off the bat, do you feel like the profile that I've described matches these people?
No.
I feel like you could...
Louis Theroux, erratic.
Yeah, he's so erratic. He's just there
The
like...
I feel
most
like
calm
Cher's pretty
person.
erratic. I mean,
Cher might be. And also, like, Jack Gleeson is like the nicest human being on planet Earth by all accounts.
But allegedly, when he came to the audition to play Joffrey Baratheon, he wasn't actually going for the role of Joffrey Baratheon. He was supposed to be a double for Joffrey. And it was his performance that won them over. They were completely blown away by how incredible he was, and he's like the original guy, whoever he is.
Goodbye.
So
Fame and fortune slips you this time. Spin the wheel again.
Louis Theroux also comes across as somebody who's very reserved, but in his documentaries, he goes out of his way to try like really erratic.
Yeah, but he
behaviours.
does it very calmly. It's not like he does it just to get in on it. He's not there like, I want to get in on this neo-Nazi stuff.
To be fair, we don't know him personally. Okay, so here are famous facts. So this person has many hobbies, and chrysanthemums are one of them.
Chrysanthemums, the flowers.
Yeah. Who do you think it is? Is it Jose Mujica, Cher, Louis Theroux, Iker Casillas, or Jack Gleeson?
I'm going to say Cher.
I would really like it to be the Uruguayan guerrilla fighter. But
These flowers.
I'm going to go with Louis Theroux.
I'm going to go with the one I don't know who's like Iguanodon Schmugadon.
Oh, what, the Spanish footballer?
Yeah, Iguanodon.
Iguanodon.
Casillas.
Amazing thumbs.
Yeah.
Casillas?
No, wrong spot. Keeps just piercing it.
This
Pretty sure
person.
he's Spain's international goalkeeper.
Good for him.
Yeah, he is.
He's not the one. Is he the
He's
one that
he's
Shakira? So I hate him.
he's the only one on their team who doesn't spend the whole game passing in a triangle.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's-
we are all friends here until the enemy team are full of
he's so good. He's got a contract that means that he was in that team for life.
He's never allowed to leave the goal.
Yeah. So
Someone goes home and just curls up against the post.
fact number 2. This person hates swearing and avoids it as much as possible. Is it Jose Mujica? Is it Cher? Is it Louis Theroux? Is it Iker Casillas? Or is it Jack Gleeson?
Louis Theroux.
Shit. I was going to say. I'm going to say Jack Gleeson.
I've already said Louis Theroux, haven't I? Cher. I'm fucked now. I'm just going to have to put I'm going to be one behind and everything.
And who did you say?
I said Jack Gleeson.
Jack Gleeson.
I like that little tidbit. Like he played Joffrey and then he said, like, please could you watch your language? You
Well, it's
just
like,
said, damn.
was it a guy who played Malcolm Tucker?
Pig Porter, yeah. He
Yeah.
just doesn't swear because he's like, I used up my lifetime's worth of swearing as the character. And we can't blame him.
Yeah, because he did.
Yeah.
This person cost his family an estimated 1.2 million euros, which is £1 million.
I feel like it's
Spanish
Spanish.
Is it Jose, Louis, Iker, or Jack?
Spanish footballer.
Spanish footballer. Oh, are we doing that thing that because last time we could go for the same one, but now it seems like we're trying not to.
Well, so the
What do you-
upshot
what are you
is,
going
I
for?
said it first.
I know I'm buggered because it's like it's not going to be the resistance fire because the euro wasn't a thing. It's not going to be Cher because she's a woman. Which leaves me with Louis Theroux, and I don't imagine Louis Theroux will be like rocking up euro debts. So I guess I'm going to have to say Louis Theroux.
Okay.
You spendthrift idiot.
This person has outsold Barbie in merch. Is it Jose Mujica,
Louis Theroux.
Cher, Louis Theroux?
Louis Theroux doll.
This makes me uncomfortable.
I don't agree with your opinions, but I understand them.
Tell me more.
Why do you
How
think
does this
that?
make you feel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you not use that word in front of
Okay.
me?
Okay, Saul, is it Jose, Cher, Louis, Iker, or Jack Gleason?
Jack.
You're going for Jack. Jonah, who are you going for?
Who've already said?
You've said Louis, you've said Cher, you've said Iker Casillas, which leaves you
Ugandan
with...
gorilla, like his action figures, look like G.I. Joe.
New communist reforms.
I think which leaves you with Jose.
Really? Only the? Oh, for God's sake, that's not right.
I'm going to say Cher because I know that like there's certain.
No, I haven't
communities
said.
out
I
there-
haven't said. I haven't said Gleesy boy
Yeah,
yet. I'm
Cher.
going
No,
with.
Cher
I'm going
does
with
our
Gleeson.
Yeah, Cher.
Okay.
And if it's wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yeah, Cher.
I'm definitely wrong.
You sure it's not the resistance
Okay.
fire?
This...
Take down the government and buy my merch.
If only Che Guevara had known how much merch he could sell.
Yeah, I know. It wouldn't be about like communism all of a sudden.
Okay, and our last fact is that this person's father described Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, and other celebrities of their rank as mythomaniacs, people who wish to convince the world of their worth.
Well,
Is
I
it
guess I'm left with the resistance fighter
Same.
born in the 30s, so I guess his dad was really about just ahead of his time. Like, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, narcissistic, horrible people. Who are daddy? Who is these people?
I've also only got the resistance leader.
You're same.
I mean, he bet he was doing some like the fucking chrysanthemums or something.
Of course he was. He was there like, shoot the government official, sniff a flower.
Okay,
I have
so
many hobbies like juggling.
let's go over the facts. So we've got this individual has many hobbies, chrysanthemums and growing them being one of them. Saul, you've gone for Cher. Jonah, you've gone for Louis Theroux. And James, you've gone for Iker Casillas. And I can tell you that you're all wrong because it was actually Jose Mujica who
Of course it was.
who has a farmhouse outside. He never lived in the presidential palace. He's an incredibly humble
Oh,
person.
he's
I know
like-
who he is. He's the
Himself.
super humble one who's
He's
like,
so
Like
nice.
Cincinnatus.
yeah.
He,
Oh,
when
shite.
he famously submitted an expense form during his time as a president, and the only personal expense was the money he spent on his Mini Cooper, which was 1,500 euros.
Yeah, he lived like he was like
Yeah,
called,
yeah.
he was called like the people's the peasant
Yeah,
president.
he's
thing.
still
Like,
very much beloved.
Yeah.
And his
I know
wife
him
and
as
him grow chrysanthemums and sell them. That's what they do.
shit.
No,
I'm
damn it.
so angry. I flubbed his name.
This person hates swearing and avoids it as much as possible. Saul, you've gone for Louis Theroux. Jonah, you've gone for Cher. And James, you've gone for Jack Gleason. And James is right. It's Jack Gleason. He hates swearing. He tries to avoid it as much as
Yeah, that
possible.
cheeky
He will practice doing the takes without swearing, and then he'll say it on the actual take.
Just put an episode of Hell's Kitchen on and he just starts screaming.
Runs into the other room. It's still on. Multi-room. Sky multi-room. Bringing you the late shift.
Jack Gleason was actually very difficult to find any information about because he has such a clean
really-
reputation. He's
yeah,
such a
yeah.
good boy.
Like pretty much the only picture you can find of him is with puppies. He's
Yeah,
that kind of person.
he studied really hard. He did acting on the side, and now that he's done Game of Thrones, very
He took
much
a break, didn't he?
Yeah, he's taken a break, and he now works on a show which involves puppetry. I think it's called something in time. But yeah, so that's what he's doing with his career.
Good. He said, good, clean boy.
So this person cost
Good Irish lad.
yeah. So this person cost his family an estimated 1.2 million euros. And Saul and Jonah have both gone for Iker Casillas, and James, you have gone for Louis Theroux.
Irresponsible Louis Theroux.
It was actually Iker Casillas, so congratulations,
We're all on one
Saul
point.
and Jonah. Because what happened was that when this wasn't like his family had basically played the system because their son was a goalkeeper. But basically, his dad made some predictions for a game that was going to be going on, and Iker failed to hand it in to the betting place, which cost his dad 1.2 million euros that he could have won. Because he got so many details right. So this person has outsold Barbie in merch. you have gone for you've gone for Jose, you've gone for Jack Gleason, and you've gone for Cher. And James, you are right, because it was Cher. When the Cher doll came out, she sold so many of them that she outsold Barbie, which was the first time that's ever happened since the Barbie came out. It's like kids stopped giving a shit about Barbie. They were like, fuck you, Miss Mattel. We're all about that Cher goodness.
Well, that's what I said, like, yeah, Cher doll was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing. I just thought that would be the kind of thing Cher would do.
Knew that. Flunked it.
So our last fact.
I pull into the lead.
Our
And
last
I think
fact.
that means I win because we all got this one wrong.
Our last fact that you all got wrong is that this person's outspoken father referred to celebrities like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and other people of that caliber as mythomaniacs, people who wish to convince the world of their worth. And that was, of course, the father of Louis Theroux, who was... The reason Louis Theroux was born in Singapore is because his father was a travel writer, and he's been quite outspoken talking about a variety of different things, including this one, which caused quite a bit of controversy, him calling people that, considering that a part of his job was kind of mixing with people of those circles. He also said something along the lines of the fact that he hates that media and celebrity charity work propagates this idea that the only way that a lower economically developed region, rather, like Africa, can be saved from famine and poor human living conditions is by the involvement of Westerners in like charitable ways. So essentially, he was speaking out against the white knight social kind of.
To be fair,
tourism.
I do really dislike comic relief for similar reasons, because I really don't watch this legion of celebrities come on the TV and be like, we've raised £10 million, which is basically how much I get paid a year. But good job, people of Britain. I will not be doing the same thing. Because, all the people that they get on this whole list of people to do it, if they all gave like 1% of their earnings that year, they would like triple the amount that was just given by the public. And that really makes me sick.
But they are still giving people money.
Yeah, but that's a whole
Yeah,
philosophical
helping
debate of if the morality of something is, whatever. But the point is, I think
Well,
it's,
it's not.
if you're going to be on comic relief,
it's not immoral. It's a bit kind of dubious for them to act very good, like you say, when they get paid this much. But the thing is, they are still giving people money.
yeah, but the point is that they could give more. I'm not saying, if I was running comic relief, if you wanted to be on comic relief and have people think you're a great person, you'd have to put a certain amount in
I guess there's also
to justify your place there.
I guess also an aspect of it is thinking about, because of how wealthy they are, how much is their time worth compared to other people. Say, for instance, if you are a famous actor, your time spent working on comic relief, which is typically done for charity, is quite a big contribution of money when you think about the fact that their time costs money.
Yeah, well, the thing is also, people say that, they don't get paid for it, but they do. They get hotel costs and things. And the amount of horror stories that come out of that, of like them being utter divas and demanding like 10 grand's worth of like hotel supplies and things, just for the privilege of being there. And it's really bad. Like, when you really dig into it, it's just so vapid.
But it still makes money for good causes.
A funny anecdote about people that don't like swearing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we all know Gordon Ramsay swears a lot. Kind of became his thing. He obviously didn't want his children to swear, so they actually introduced like a swear jar system. But he's exempt essentially from it because he couldn't not swear because he just kept making mistakes. But what he did was teach his children to use cooking items instead of swearing. So like shiitake mushrooms and things like that.
They're not going to get bullied.
No, however, at school, when the kids were using these, teachers still didn't like it. And the teachers actually called up Gordon Ramsay, which I feel bad for that person that had that title.
Mr. Ramsay, your child said shiitake mushrooms in. Fuck off! Bang!
Well, essentially, yeah. He basically, they said, like, we're not really too happy with the use of your kids' language. And he basically just said, like, they're cooking items, so fuck off, and hung up on them.
Yeah.
It was like, what more do you want me to... Instead of saying ass, they say asparagus.
Yeah.
Like, oh, asparagus. Or like, and then like kids are like, shh, you can't say asparagus now. Or,
Yeah, it's a naughty word, yeah.
God, they've ruined it for the rest of their schools. Like, there's so many
I'm
inane
imagining
words.
the poor food ec teacher who has to live by that law now. It's like, get the the green stalk.
And the Japanese mushrooms, please.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, food tech cooking with Japanese mushrooms. I remember it's like, make pizza. No, not like that, you fuckwit.
With dough for a start.
Why is it face down? It's cheese dripping through the grate.
It came out on basically an interview with him. I think it was one of the American.
Where he goes into like people's restaurants. He's like, why do you
No.
mafiosos in the
talking
corner
about late
threatening
night
people?
Yeah, late night shows, and it was an interview with him, and he told that story of how he got this call from the school saying that they weren't happy with about his kids not swearing, essentially. Yeah, so no, but it actually happened when it just seemed ridiculous. But yeah, he actually just said "fuck off" and a harp.
I really enjoy seeing Gordon Ramsay on American talk shows because he's so mischievous when he's on the States, much more so than when you see him on British media. I think it's because he has so much fun with the fact that he can do anything and the American public will love him, because he doesn't get to do as many angry, shouty shows here, or that's not how he likes to be presented. Here he actually does cooking shows. And shows off the positive aspects of his personality, like when he does like MasterChef with kids. And he's so sweet.
Have you seen that video of those two spliced together?
Yeah.
Like Hell's Kitchen and the cooking show with kids, where it's Gordon Ramsay basically swearing and angry swearing at the adults, and then it just cuts to him talking to like a child crying, just being like, no, it's okay. Like we all still think you're super, and there's cuts back to the
that's a testament to the fact he's clearly very good with children.
Yeah.
Like, because you do meet those people who are very, very good with kids, and then like they're horrible human beings at the same time.
His swearing has reduced though, because he actually went back and watched previous episodes and what he was like years before when he started, when like Hell's Kitchen and like the F word kicked off, and he found it cringeworthy. Essentially, he didn't like how much he was swearing, so he has tried to reduce it.
But yeah, it's always funny seeing actors and musicians coming to these shows and having to deal with Gordon Ramsay just basically being like very flippant and not giving a shit about what they have to.
Congratulations! Yay! On the worst dish of the season. I love that one so much. If you guys at home, if you haven't seen that clip, just search. Search. Oh, I know. Search Gordon Ramsay.
Thank you! On the worst dish of the season.
Jesus Christ.
So those are our famous facts. I think the people that were born on this day were really interesting to talk about.
But were they erratic or not erratic?
Well, speaking of erratic...
Because I feel like they said a guerrilla leader. Pretty erratic one moment being a guerrilla leader, but then being like so dependable and like lovely.
Well, I mean, there's erratic from a certain point of view. Imagine he had to be pretty consistent in his...
Skywalker over there. Chopping off those younglings was erratic from a certain point of view.
Well, it's like, because if he was erratic in his resistance, he would occasionally flip back to being a loyalist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This was one decisive break with authority, and he was like, I'm sticking to this.
Can you imagine being that guy, the Lou Boo of revolutions? Can I join your team? No, you betrayed us last time. I won't do it again.
It's easy, just be Lou Boo. Be really good at something.
Yeah, be really good at fighting and killing until they get sick of you and decide to fight and kill you.
And get really drunk and beat them up, yeah.
If you would like to make yourself laugh, I would really recommend reading through some of Cher's tweets, because
don't listen to the podcast. This isn't funny.
No, Cher's funnier than us.
Stop this now and go read Cher tweets.
I'm saying
the joy of reading.
We fall upon our own sword for Cher.
No, I'm saying in the interim between this episode and the next, you can entertain yourself by reading through some of Cher's tweets. As you know, Cher is as old as time. And I mean that in the sweetest way. And
in the beginning, there was Cher.
Do you know she's the only pop musician? Well, I mean,
who's older than the planet?
Apparently, no.
God was like, I need
light
someone.
And dark.
God was like, I need someone to put this.
She's the only.
You can't see Cher, but she's there.
I need someone to see how fabulous she is. I must create the universe.
Cher is at the edge of the universe.
Watching hungrily.
Yeah, with Yog Saigon.
Cher is the only musician who's had a #1 chart single out for every decade that she's been active.
So, as you've just established, since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So, like, back in the Triassic era, she had some fiery beats every decade.
Raptors, just...
Yeah, like, bobbing along.
And that's...
Raptors. Nice.
But I mean...
Oh, Christ. That smells worse than the compost.
I was worried someone was going to pull me up on whether raptors were around
in
the Triassic
No,
era.
they weren't. No, they were Cretaceous.
You fucking nerds.
But as impressive as...
Allosaurus. Just wanted to add that.
But as impressive as her musical achievements are, I find it more impressive that
So just say Allosaurus.
Allosaurus.
Allosaurus?
Oh my god! What the fuck? I'm gonna be quiet for 5 minutes.
No, you won't. I don't think.
Go on, you're doing, man.
I don't think it's in you, James, to be quiet for 5 minutes.
I need to for public safety. I just said the word Allosaurus.
It's like you're trying to say aloe vera.
Allosaurus.
The aloe vera ads, but
I imagine that's the same way you said it when you were 12 and
What's your
really into
favourite
dinosaurs.
It's not an Allosaurus. It's not even close.
it's raptors. But
Yeah, it's
Do you want to
Velociraptors.
try 5 minutes, James?
I'm gonna try 5 minutes.
But as impressive as her musical achievements are, I thought I would entertain you with some of the works that she's put out on Twitter, because she's an avid user of Twitter. She loves using her emojis. She loves putting erratic sentences that don't make a lot of sense. So I'm just going to read you some of them. So 7:02 a.m. July 13th, 2012. She says, "What the fuck is MDMA?" At 7 o'clock in the morning.
Was this after she'd taken it?
I don't know.
So I had the stuff. What is it?
at 7 in the morning, you're either coming down off MDMA or you're not starting the day with MDMA. It's very likely that, you're there like, well, that was a good night out at 7 in the morning. Like, I'm really glad that my feet have stopped.
So
Stop gurning.
I think this.
I've gone through 8 packs of Wrigley's Extra.
I mean, although this tweet is from April, I feel like it's related to the MDMA, because she says, "I was looking at tweets and saw that I really hurt someone's feelings. I'm sorry. It was a light blue background with white egg shape. Bye."
What,
knows?
That was the colour of their feelings?
Or the pills she was taking.
Somebody wrote to her in December, at Cher, "Sit on my face." Cher replied, "Sit on your own damn face. I'm busy." All caps.
Wow.
Fair enough.
She once tweeted, "Please retweet." That's it.
That's just,
How many retweets did it get?
that's
though?
just social experimentation.
How many retweets? 11,900.
People just do what you tell them to if you're famous. What, she's like, Benedict Cumberbatch should be like, kill the person next
That's
to
a
you.
dangerous superpower.
Exactly.
That person messaged her saying, "Sit on your face," and she says, "Sit on your own face" to everyone. So everyone just started just sitting on their own faces.
Broke themselves in half.
We'll do it for Cher.
I mean,
It's a cult, really.
so obviously Cher is very popular for the fact that she
I mean, yeah, people are
dislikes
snapping
Madonna.
themselves in half to sit on their own face.
And the fact that she had a number one hit in every decade that she was producing, it's a big indication that people like her.
Yeah. Cher's also very famous for her feud with Madonna. It's been going on since both of them started their careers, obviously at the beginning of time. Big Bang, Madonna, Cher come out, they start hating each other, as we know.
No, I imagine that Madonna came about and Cher was there like, I was here first. I was here before light and dark, before God made the earth.
I mean,
You sit down, you gap tooth.
I mean, honestly, Saul, genuinely, Saul, it's not very far off of what she actually said about Madonna.
Wow.
Like, on interviews, there are records of this. My favourite thing that she said about Madonna was after, like, it was well known that she hates her. She said something along the lines of, "I think Madonna's very talented. She's a very creative person, because for someone with so little to offer, she still manages to make music."
Wow. Also the fact that when she's on MDMA, regardless of the gurney, she can still breathe through her mouth. Just a whistle.
So this tweet links to their relationship. So somebody tweets at Cher, "How did you celebrate Madonna's birthday?" She replies, "I got a colonic."
Happy birthday to Madonna. Happy birthday to Madonna.
So Cher's also very criticised for her overuse of emojis. People think that she's being silly, and she writes, "OMG!" exclamation, exclamation, which are all emojis, crying face, exclamation, exclamation, all caps. "Study says people who use emoji a lot, comma, are having more sex, crying face, tongue sticking out, and are younger, crying face, crying face, crying face. Just saying." And I'm going to finish this by a tweet from her in August 18th, 2012, when she just said, "What's going on with my career?"
Better than Madonna's though.
And that was Cher.
Wow.
The typical May 20th kind of person, according to trusted
I was
psychic
going to say,
mediums.
of all the bullshit that trusted psychics spouted, I feel like Cher seems to fit.
Yeah, she does.
The erratic bit.
I think they were modelling it after her. And that was Famous Facts. I hope
The
you
whole
enjoyed
website.
it. That was Famous Facts. I hope you enjoyed it. And now
Should
we'll
have
be
guessed there's a
moving on.
huge picture of Cher as the background.
It is just Cher.
The original URL was just share.com. Well, and it is now 5 minutes, James. Congratulations, you stay quiet. for 5 minutes.
Allosaurus, I'm back.
5 minutes, James. Congratulations. Here is your crown. Just blowing the dust off.
Yeah, I'm back, baby. And Cher is a fucking moron.
Don't say that. I
No,
don't want
need
to.
that.
I
I
don't
don't
want to
need that.
invoke
I
her
like
wrath.
Cher.
Coming from the man who just said
I like Cher and
Allosaurus.
Madonna.
Pardon?
I feel like I like her more.
No, I'm
having
not gonna
read
lie.
her tweets.
I would side with Cher if it came down to it. Like if there was a fight, like Cher's got
Like
an
Celebrity
Oscar.
Deathmatch. There must have been a
Cher would kick that shit out of
Cher's
Madonna.
tough as fuck.
Who's kidnapped more Africans?
I don't think it's Cher. I think Cher hasn't kidnapped any Africans that I'm aware of. She does it underground.
Cher's had her own kids. I think that's what
That's
she
fair
said.
enough.
Has Madonna had her own kids?
No,
Like-
she's
No, I mean,
she was
maybe
famous
she
for
has-
adopting a
Maybe
lot.
she has one or two legitimate children amongst the hordes of stolen
Yeah,
children.
but I was gonna say it makes all of the others are just illegitimate children.
She is to children
They
as
are in the
as
line of
Cruella-
succession, my boy. This is feudalism here.
She is as to children as Cruella de Vil is to puppies.
She is the child snatcher from Chi Chi Bang Bang.
What? She's cutting off their skin.
He has a big gap tooth as well. The Chi Chi Bang Bang. Yeah, so why has no one made that meme before? Because he's got the big gap tooth and he's like, children! Mate, Cher.
Because I don't
You
think
can have that shade thrown at McDonald's for free.
No, but I'm just saying that. I mean, I don't think.
From
I
the
don't
man
think-
behind Allosaurus.
I mean, when was the last time Madonna was like kind of big news? I think throwing a meme out there, giving her shade for being a child snatcher, is a little bit too late to the party.
Mate.
The party's over. The lights come on. You've walked in, gurning your teeth on
Taking your
MDMA, going, "What is MDMA?"
I'm like, where's the music? Start up again. Start up again.
It's 7 in the morning, James. Go home.
I've
I've
just
just
got-
taken. I've just.
Well, you're
made a hit.
describing it like my life is one of those weird crackheads who turns up in Jesse Pinkman's house in Breaking Bad in like season 3 and doesn't leave till season 4. Like,
Oh God, they don't, do they?
yeah, they're just fucking everywhere.
Thank you to those people for being born today, and we're moving on to conspiracy theories with a very influential woman called Amelia Earhart.
The way you said "with," it's like she's going to appear again and be like, "Hello, I'm back."
We're having a seance.
I'm really interested because I have.
I knew
Has
very
Amelia
little about
Earhart
know-
flown past your knowledge?
Yes, she certainly has, because there's a podcast that I listen to which is all about interesting lives and really, really interesting deaths. So, and Amelia Earhart is on it.
Maybe she flew through a
So
wormhole,
I'm
which takes her
moist
forward in time,
To
and
the
it's just
Late
going to
Shift
crash land
podcast.
right here.
She's going to say, "What has the world come to?"
So as Saul said, Amelia Earhart is still one of the most interesting unsolved mysteries of our time. I've decided to talk about her today because it aligns with a little bit of something I learned from Today in History, which is on this day in 1932, Amelia Earhart left Newfoundland being the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, which led me to think that I actually knew very little about the woman, and I've heard about different conspiracy theories regarding her disappearance. And for those people who don't know anything about her or knew as little about her as I did when I began this deep dive, I thought I would tell you a little bit about who she was before the disappearance. So Amelia Earhart was born in July 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, in America's heartland. She had kind of a troubled childhood because her father was an alcoholic, so her mother put her and her sister in a shuttle, and she spent loads of time at her grandparents' place where she had loads of freedom, basically doing whatever she wants, running around and doing that kind of thing. But because her father was an alcoholic, it was very difficult for them to keep down any stable accommodation. She moved around from schools quite a lot, which meant that even though she had a talent for sciences, she never got to fully excel. But because of her difficult upbringing, she's learned to be very independent. When 10-year-old Amelia Mary Earhart, which is her full name, saw her first plane at a state fair with her sister, she wasn't impressed. She said that it was a thing of rusty wire and wood and looked not at all interesting. It wasn't until she attended a stunt flying exhibition almost a decade later that she became seriously interested in aviation. A pilot spotted Earhart and her friend, who were watching them from an isolated clearing, and dove at them. "I'm sure he said to himself," she said, "watch me make them scamper." Earhart, who felt a mixture of fear and pleasure, stood her ground. As the plane swooped by, something inside her awakened. "I didn't understand it at the time," she admitted, "but I believe that little red airplane said something to me as it swished by." Sounds like a beginning of a kink, I'm not gonna lie, but let's keep going. On December the 28th,
The Red Arrow, erotica novel by James Hunt.
On December the 28th, 1920, pilot Frank Hawkes gave her a ride that would forever change her life.
James wrote.
Smugly.
By the time I had got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly.
No, you can't ruin this. It's a really interesting story.
Although her convictions were strong, challenging prejudicial and financial obstacles awaited her, but the former tomboy was no stranger to disapproval and doubt. Defying conventional feminine behaviour, young Earhart climbed trees, belly slammed her sled to start it downhill, and hunted rats with a .22 rifle. She also kept a scrapbook of newspaper clippings about successful women in predominantly male-orientated fields, including film direction and production, law, advertising, management, and mechanical engineering. So after graduating from Hyde Park High School in 1915, Earhart attended Ogon's, a girls' finishing school in the suburbs of Philadelphia. She left in the middle of her second year to work as a nurse's aide in a military hospital in Canada during World War I, attended college, and later became a social worker at Denison House, a settlement house in Boston. Earhart took her first flying lesson on January 3rd, 1921. So that was after her ride.
Ride that changed her life.
And the ride had changed her life. And in 6 months, she managed to save enough money to buy her first airplane, which just goes to say, she was getting that dough. And after getting her license, she was the 16th woman in the entire world to be issued a pilot's license, which is crazy to think, because it was 1921. The second-hand Kinner...
4 years after flying became a main deal. So,
Also, to put it into perspective, the amount of males that had licenses, quite a few.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, 16 is still a ridiculously small number.
don't be ridiculous. Man's natural flier doesn't need a license. Just gets in a
I
plane and takes off.
I think
He goes to be one with the angels.
I think humans in general being natural flyers.
No, good lord, man, not humans in general. Aristocracy is here. Lower classes can't
We
be allowed
learn
to
to
get
glide effortlessly between. That's how we explored the Congo.
like flying squirrels from tree to tree.
Propelled by our blue blood, you see.
So she got herself...
Squirting it out. Oh my god, that's grim.
So she
just drink more from the lower classes.
So she got herself a second-hand Kinner Erste, which was a two-seater biplane painted bright yellow, and she and it became
Depressing
her.
colour.
Yeah, it's a useless colour.
And so she named it the Canary and used it to set her first women's record by rising to an altitude of 14,000 feet. By April 1928, she was the first woman to fly the Atlantic. That landmark flight made headlines worldwide because 3 pilots had died within the year trying to be that first woman to fly across the Atlantic.
I was going to say, pretty much as soon as she got the Canary, she pretty much set any world record for a female.
Well, she tried to, yeah.
Yeah.
So she then placed 3rd at the Cleveland Women's Air Derby. She...
3rd.
Yeah.
So this woman's just been the first person to ever cross the Atlantic, has got to the highest altitude, and there's some judge there's two better.
This is the thing. There were so many, relatively, obviously they were all kind of prominent at the time. There are actually quite a few women pilots.
Yeah.
In Amelia Earhart's generation. But Amelia Earhart was many times average and didn't always set records first. But she was actually quite good at marketing, which is why I remember her. She actually married her publicist.
So that's what's really interesting about her, is the fact that she was not always the best, but she was set on making a mark on the world. She got married in February 7th, 1931, and she was still very intent on retaining her independence and referred to the marriage as a partnership with dual control. This is why she never took her husband's surname. So on February 7th, 1931, she got married, and intent on retaining her independence, she referred to the marriage as a partnership with dual control. And that's the reason why she kept her maiden name. And I actually thought the story of her husband and how she came to meet him was really interesting, because it wasn't as uncomplicated as you would have thought. So on February 7th, 1931, Amelia Earhart married George Putnam, the publisher of her autobiography, in his mother's home in Connecticut. Putnam had already published several writings by Charles Lindbergh when he saw Earhart's 1928 transatlantic flight as a best-selling story with Amelia as the star.
Charles Lindbergh, for context, was the kind of the male equivalent of Amelia Earhart, was another famous American pilot.
Oh.
So he did a lot of similar things, like fly the Atlantic and so on and so forth.
So Putnam had a specialism in it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because, I said, she got a license in 1921, it's only 4 years after flying became a big thing. So flying really, obviously, kind of first powered flight was 1907, I want to say. But flying really became a thing in the First World War, because war is kind of the mother of innovation.
Yeah.
And meant that, flying without, intentionally punning, but at the same time not, took off in a major way. But so after the war, it was kind of the craze of the early 20s was flying, because it was this kind of, especially like aeroplanes, like they developed a lot more, and people had the money, for these kind of toffs and such to buy planes, buy biplanes. So flying became that kind of the thing to watch.
It was really trendy.
Because apparently it's very hard for us to grasp right now. But so if you even up until the Second World War, for people in rural areas to see aeroplanes, it's a big deal. So for everyone, for it to be so new, it's very interesting. Like when we get flying cars, we'll do it all over again. People be flying across the Atlantic in cars.
I can't wait. So Putnam.
You're going to have to.
Yeah.
It's better than paying the plane fare, I tell you that.
Putnam at the time was actually already married, and he was married to the heiress of Crayola, the crayons.
Crayons.
Dorothy.
Professor Crispaboz.
Crispaboz.
Yeah. So Dorothy Binney Putnam was actually invited Earhart to move into their Connecticut home to work on the book.
She invited the temptress into her home.
Amelia became close friends with Dorothy, but rumours surfaced about an affair between...
Sorry, obviously no friend of Dorothy. She became a friend of Dorothy, very close friend.
I don't know what friend of Dorothy means.
It was menage a trois.
It's an old term for meaning a homosexual. Friend of Dorothy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really old.
Man, no wonder the lion is so happy in that film.
Well, that's...
Ooh.
I remember watching an American comedian talk about all the Southern euphemisms, like Southern American euphemisms for homosexual. It was one of them's he's a bit of a velvet turtle. He's got a bit of sugar in his socks.
my favourite one still is shirt lifter.
Shirt lifter.
Yeah, he's a bit of a shirt lifter.
Like heterosexual people don't lift shirts ever.
No, but a bit of a, oof.
We
shirt
lift it up.
lifter.
Oh, gay.
Yeah. I might know.
I do it every time I go for a shower.
An elderly man.
I take off my shirt and I just look at myself.
Unrelated to you?
Plays golf.
Plays golf. Thinks he can see the future. Now watch this swing.
Now I'm going to kill him.
So Amelia, a friend of Dorothy, moved in, and rumours surfaced about this affair between her and George, who both insisted in the early part of the relationship that was strictly professional.
Right, way to spoil the ending.
Unhappy in her marriage, Dorothy was also having an affair with her son's tutor, according to Whistle Like a Bird, a book about Dorothy Putnam by her granddaughter Sally Putnam Chapman. Wait, so the Putnams divorced in 1929, and soon after their split, George actively pursued Earhart, asking her to marry him on several occasions. Earhart declined, but the couple eventually married in 1931. On the day of their wedding, Earhart wrote a letter to Putnam telling him, "I want you to understand, I shall not hold you to any medieval code of faithfulness to me, nor shall I consider myself bound to you similarly."
Can cuck each other till the sun goes down.
Yeah, that's a level of romance there that should be part of your novel there, James.
This is so ahead of its time.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
feel.
No, and she was. I mean,
It's so it's just reduced to business contracts.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is
100%.
horrible. This is not good. This is just the capitalisation of romance.
But this was her marriage, and I thought it was an
You
interesting
can
story.
cuck me if I can cuck you. Cuck until the night is through. Dump a dump. See now
I thought
the
you were going to end
country
that
star.
cuckadoo.
I think your novel then becomes a musical. What was with you?
James
magnetizing
James the
towards the
famous
stage.
musician.
No, every time, like every podcast, James ends up singing a song and just making it sound like he's writing a musical, which he hates. He hates musicals, and yet,
What a delightful irony!
that's the number 18 deep down in your stats of homosexuality is coming out.
Via the stage.
Oh, Dorothy.
Stage.
How original
Dorothy,
of
our
you.
friendship is strong.
Yeah.
Ready to lift my shirt I am and put sugar in my socks.
And here is a red velvet turtle. I'm not imaginative to wipe this in either.
Dorothy,
No, it's just a velvet turtle.
Pass me my shirt so I can lift it.
It might
Written
be
on my chest,
It might
just
be
the
red
word gay.
velvet, but it wouldn't be a cake turtle. It would be a turtle made of velvet.
From now on, that's what if I ever have children who are gay, because obviously I'm not, so I can't have the delight of doing this myself.
How's that obvious?
I want them to come out by just lifting their shirt up and having the word gay written on their torso, and I'd be like, I accept you and love you, and I really love the way you just came out, just like, gay.
So should we go through some more accolades of Amelia? So she won a gold medal by the National Geographic Society. Congress awarded her the Distinguished Flying Cross for the first ever given to a woman. Earhart felt that flight proved that men and women were equal in jobs requiring intelligence, coordination, speed, coolness, and willpower. That was a direct quote. Coolness.
Slick bitch.
She popped that one in there.
Yeah. I'm pretty dope. There's just that guy who drew the Scream like, I'm pretty dope too. All the people around me aren't though.
There's a little bit about her experience flying across the Pacific. She said that when the plane was kind of like doing this thing in the
Flying.
Rather than just dragging along the water like
no,
a
as
skipping
in
stone.
when it got to a point where the plane didn't require constant supervision.
Okay.
Because
Cruising altitude.
yeah, so as she was flying over the Pacific, she got herself her thermos of hot
MDMA.
chocolate and said it was the most interesting cup of hot chocolate I've ever had, sitting up 8,000 feet over the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I feel like you could
quite
have.
alone.
More than location, not the hot chocolate itself being interesting. Like for me, like a hot chocolate shouldn't really be interesting.
Oh, hint of raspberry.
Well, no. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe
Fingers.
just like,
How interesting.
just like I don't know, like hula hoops, soggy hula
floating.
hoops,
Oh, look at all that crispy potato mush that's risen to the
salt and vinegar flavored as well.
Oh,
Ever had
Amelia,
chocolate?
what
Have
were
you
you
ever had
thinking?
chocolate and potatoes?
I guess actually you could make it interesting with marshmallows and whipped cream, but also that's still kind of generic.
I'm just
for
thinking of Nutella on a baked potato now.
in a hot chocolate, stewed.
Don't be crass. Or,
But I'm just thinking how incredible that moment must have been, knowing that you're the first woman to ever do this, and watch as you're flying this death trap, and to be drinking hot chocolate and doing something that human beings didn't think themselves possible of doing, like flying such a long
I
distance.
mean,
was pretty
even
cool.
at the time of the American Revolution, they still had balloons.
Yeah,
in France.
actually, that's true. But the thing is that her fame didn't always come with nice things. So, for instance, this one time, she was the first to fly solo from Mexico City to New York, and a large crowd overflowed the field and brushed her airplane, and she was. Basically, this is a direct quote. She says, "I was rescued from my plane by husky policemen, one of whom, in the ensuing melee, took possession of my right arm and another of my left leg. The officers headed
Swung her around.
So the officers headed for a police car but chose different routes. The arm holder started to go one way while he who clasped my leg set out in the opposite direction. The result provided the victim with a fleeting taste of tortures of the rack. But at that, she said good-naturedly, it was fine to be home again." Can you imagine that being like, you're welcome? You just come out and two policemen try and rip you in half.
Fucking Sean Bean.
yeah.
Here is the famous plan that went awry. So after having set all these records, she wanted to plan a trip where she would fly around the world.
Circumnavigate the globe.
Yep. She was joined by Mr. Noonan, who was going to be her navigator. He had vast experience in both marine and flight navigation, was to be the second navigator. Mance, a Hollywood stunt pilot, was chosen to be Earhart's technical advisor. The original plan was to take off from Oakland, California, then fly to Hawaii, and from there the group would fly across the Pacific Ocean to Australia. Then they would cross the subcontinent of India, onto Africa, then to Florida, and then back to California. What ended up happening is that when they landed in Hawaii, they realized that they needed to make extensive repairs. There was something wrong with the plane, and after 3 days, when the Electra, which is the name of the plane they were flying, began its takeoff, something went wrong. She lost control and looped the plane back around on the runway. How this happened is still subject of some controversy. Several witnesses, including the Associated Press journalists, said that they saw the tire blow. Other sources, including Paul Mantz, indicated that it was a pilot error. Though no one was seriously hurt, the plane was severely damaged and had to be shipped back to California for extensive and expensive repairs. So in the interim, Earhart and Putnam secured additional funding for a new flight. The stress of the delay and grueling fundraising appearances left Amelia exhausted. By the time the plane was repaired, weather patterns and global wind changes required alterations to the flight plan. This time, Earhart and her crew would fly east. Captain Harry Manning would not join the team due to previous commitments. Paul Mantz was also absent, reportedly due to a contract dispute. So that meant that it was just them two, Earhart and Noonan, taking off on June 1st from Miami with much fanfare and publicity. The plane flew towards Central and South America, turning east to Africa. From there, the plane crossed the Indian Ocean and finally touched down in Lae, New Guinea on June 29th, 1937. About 22,000 miles off the journey had been completed. The remaining 7,000 miles would take place over the Pacific. In Lae, Earhart contracted dysentery that lasted for days. While she recuperated, several necessary adjustments were made to the plane that were wiping up the shit.
God.
Extra amounts of fuels were stowed on board. The parachutes were packed away, for there would be no need for them while flying along the vast and desolate Pacific Ocean. The flyers' plan was to head to Howland Island, so it was 2,556 miles away, situated between Hawaii and Australia. So considering they had 7,000 miles to go, it was about 3,000 in. A flat sliver about 6,500 feet long, 1,600 feet wide, and no more than 20 foot above ocean waves. It was an island that was very difficult to distinguish from similar-looking cloud shapes that were kind of in the ocean. And to meet this challenge, Earhart and Noonan did a lot of planning. They had an elaborate plan with several contingencies. One of the primary ones being celestial navigation, which Noonan was very expert in. So he would use the stars to plan their route and keep them on course. And in case of overcast skies, they had radio communication with the U.S. Coastal Guard vessel Itasca, stationed off Howland Island, so very close. They would then also use maps, compass, and the position of the rising sun to make educated guesses on finding their position relative to Howland Island. Since this never been done before, they had all these preparations in store. So after aligning themselves with the latitude, they would run north and south looking for the island, and the smoke plume would be sent up from Itasca, and they would know that they've arrived at the right place. They even had emergency plans to ditch the plane if need be, believing that the empty fuel tanks would give the plane some buoyancy, as well as time to get into the small inflatable craft and wait for rescue. But what ended up happening is that when they set off at 12:30, heading east toward Howland Island, the flyers seemed to have well thought out plan. Several early decisions led to grave consequences later on. Radio equipment with shorter wavelength frequencies were left behind, presumably to allow more room for fuel canisters. This equipment would broadcast radio signals further distances, and due to inadequate quantities of high-octane fuel, the Electra carried about 1,000 gallons, 50 gallons short of full capacity. So there were loads of little things. They forgot their radio, they didn't fill up the tank as much as they should have done, and
it killed them.
Witnesses to the July 2nd takeoff reported that radio antenna may have been damaged as well. It was also believed that due to the extensive overcast conditions, Noonan might not have been able to use celestial navigation. And if that weren't enough, it was also discovered that the flyers were using maps that may not have been accurate. So according to experts, evidence shows that the charts used by Noonan and Earhart place Howland Island nearly 6 miles off its actual location, which is quite a lot. These circumstances led to a series of problems that couldn't be solved. As Earhart and Noonan reached the supposed position of Howland Island, they maneuvered into the tracking route to find the island. They looked for visual and auditory signals from the Itasca, but for various reasons, radio communication was very poor that day. There was also confusion between Earhart and the Itasca over which frequencies to use, and a misunderstanding as to the agreed-upon check-in time. The flyers were operating in Greenwich Civil Time, and the Itasca was operating on Naval Time Zone, which set their schedules 30 minutes apart. So, lots of cock-ups.
I was going to say that I think, like, our last broadcast before Radio Silence is actually still recorded.
Yeah,
because,
it's available. So,
which is basically along the lines of, where the fuck am I? No, it's more like panicking, but Still, I mean, she still uses the correct codes and things like that. Like, yeah, Mayday, Mayday. We have no idea where we are. Like, the island is not where we thought where it is. We're running out of fuel. I can't make signal with anything. We're trying on multiple channels. If anyone hears this, basically, please contact someone.
So July 2nd, 10 a.m. local time, or 0 Greenwich time, they took off. The tracking wasn't working, and as dawn neared, Earhart called the Itasca, reporting cloudy weather, cloudy. In later transmissions, Earhart asked Itasca to take bearings on her. The Itasca sent her a steady stream of transmissions, but she couldn't hear them because they weren't in the wrong frequency. Her radio transmissions, irregular through most of the flight, were faint or interrupted with static. At 7:42 a.m., the Itasca picked up the message, "We must be on you, but we can't see you. Fuel is running low. Been unable to reach you by radio. We're flying at 1,000 feet." The ship tried to reply, but the plane seemed to not hear. At 8:45 a.m., Earhart reported, "We're running north and south." Nothing further was heard from her. So, this is 1937. So, to put it in context of what was going on in the world,
Japan was kicking off.
Yeah. So, until the late 1800s, Japan had been a nation with ancient political traditions and little contact with the Western world. And visits by Commodore Matthew Perry and American warships helped open Japan to trade with the United States and other nations in the 1850s. And in the years,
American showed up and was like, fucking trade. And they're like, okay.
And in the years that followed, Japan took major steps to becoming a more modern industrial nation. By the 1920s and 30s, Japan was a strong country, but it lacked oil, rubber, and other natural resources of its own. For this reason, Japanese political leaders looked with envy at the Dutch, French, and British colonies across Southeast Asia and the Pacific.
The Chinese.
Oh, that big old sleepy China.
Japanese business leaders saw huge markets for their products in nearby countries like Korea and China. Japan's desire to use East Asia to gain natural resources and sell manufactured products was in direct conflict with American plans for Asia. This was especially true concerning China. Washington created an open-door policy towards China. It wanted to keep China's natural resources and markets free from control by Japan or any other nation. For this reason, Americans were very concerned when Japanese forces invaded the Manchuria area of China in 1931. And when they watched with great interest the effort of the Chinese leader Chiang Kai-shek to oppose the Japanese invaders. The United States was also very concerned about protecting the imports of oil, tin and rubber from Southeast Asia. The area of the world was a major supplier of these resources in the 1930s, and the Middle East had not yet become a leading producer of oil. And in these ways, the United States and Japan were competing for the same resources. However, there was also a good deal of trade between the two nations. In fact, Japan depended on the United States for most of its metal, copper and oil. This trade with Tokyo became a major concern for President Franklin Roosevelt and the Congress in 1937. Notice, same year. In the summer of that year, more Japanese troops arrived into China. They quickly captured much of the coast, and much of the metal, oil, and other materials that Japan used for its war effort in China came from the United States. Americans didn't like selling Japan materials to use against China, but the trade was legal because of the 1911 agreement between Tokyo and Washington. However, the American government told Japan in 1939 that it would be the end of the earlier agreement. It would no longer sell Japan materials that could be used for war. This is the time that Amelia is making her travels. This is particularly significant because most of the projected places that she could have crashed were within Japanese territory.
Yeah.
Flying over those territories would have been very valuable information to pass on to the US government, and many of the conspiracy theories make reference to that. So there are allusions as to whether or not she was working with the government because she was a spy, or whether or not she happened to be an informant for the government without being one. So I'm going to go through some of them. Some of the ones that really stood up to me. Obviously, the official theory, the US position about Earhart and Noonan, is that they ran out of fuel on the way to Howland Island and crashed in the Pacific Ocean. And despite the $4 million rescue authorized by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to find the pilots, no trace of the aircraft Earhart or Noonan was ever found. So that's theory number one. Theory number two suggests that they must have crashed on an island known as Nikumarora. The International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, TIGA, is investigating the hypothesis that Earhart and Noonan landed their Electra on Nikumarora Island, a spec land 350 miles southwest of Howland. This is supported by the fact that I think
it was to do with the maps that they were using were being incorrect. That it was more likely that island was the one that they thought was the first one.
Some of the last signals that they've sent to the ship was that they were on line 157337, indicating that the plane was flying on a northwest to southeast navigational line that bisected Howland Island. So if Earhart and Noonan missed Howland, they would fly either northwest or southeast on the line to find it. So to the northwest of Howland lies an open ocean of thousands of miles, which they would be able to see, and to the southwest is Nuku'alofa. So this was the leading theory when they were looking for them. At the time of her disappearance, Nuku'alofa tide was especially low, revealing reef surface, so that it could have potentially been a good place to land. There's other evidence that points to Earhart's and Noonan's fate as castaways on Nuku'alofa. Later in 1937, a British party explored the island with the intent of colonising it. Eric Bevington.
Of course they did.
So Eric Bevington, a colonial officer, noticed what looked like an overnight bivouac. He also took a photograph of the shoreline, which included the unidentified object that Tigger speculates might have been the plane's landing gear. By 1938, the island was colonised to be part of the Phoenix Island settlement scheme, one of British Empire's last expansions. They were working fast. The colonists reported finding airplane parts, some of which could plausibly have come from the Electra, but again, not necessarily, because as we've discussed, many planes have crashed trying to cross this region. So Tigger launched 12 expeditions to Nuku'alofa since 1989, and over the course of those visits to the island, they've identified a site that matches this description. So colonists reported finding airplane parts, some of which could plausibly come from Electra. Here's the most important piece in this investigation and looking for her, which is in 1940, Gerald Gallagher, the colonial administrator, discovered 13 bones buried near the remains of a campfire. He also found the remnants of 2 shoes, a man's and a woman's, as well as a box that once held a sextant, a navigation device. The bones were shipped to Fiji, measured, and subsequently lost. Tigger researchers evaluated the measurements using modern techniques and determined that the bones could be from a woman of Earhart's size and build. However, this claim has been really highly contested because at the time, the researcher that put this claim forward actually identified the bones as belonging to a 5'5" man who wasn't even necessarily white. And loads of the research that came after that, using the bone data as evidence to prove whether or not it was Earhart, kept referring to the measurements made by that man. The measurements that the original researcher was making were accurate enough for me to base further research off of it, but his conclusions were completely wrong. How could his conclusion that it was a 5'5" not white man still be helpful and conclusive to it being Amelia Earhart, a white woman in her 40s? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So eventually, by 1989, Tigger set out 12 expeditions trying to find more evidence. They sent out dogs and who were trained to find human remains.
Cross the ocean.
Find her, boy, find her.
It starts paddling
Just
away.
those dogs ain't coming back.
So the original doctor that I'm talking about, his name is Dr. D.W. Hoodless, and in 1941 he concluded that the remains were not Earhart's and belonged to a middle-aged stocky male of 5'5". And although the bones have disappeared, and to me that sounds very suspicious because why would they disappear? There was such a hotly desirable, piece of evidence.
The dog's got him.
Yeah, the dog's got him.
These dogs just came out of the ocean, just grabbed them and just swam off again.
So the British had them and sent them to Fiji in the 1940s? Mm-hmm. Like, they had other things in their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wait,
suppose so.
what was right there? I believe that was the British Empire. Where's it gone?
The Germans got it, no, the Yanks told us to sell it.
Oh,
So later, the study this study was reviewed by a researcher called Jantz.
Just Jantz. It's a street name.
His surname was Jantz. It's cool.
Street investigator, Jantz. Hey, you looking for Miss Earhart?
And they looked across the bone samples, and after comparing the data, Jantz concluded that the bones were more likely to belong to Earhart. They also used clothing measurements and examined photos of her next to scalable objects. And he said that until definitive evidence is presented that the remains are not those of Amelia Earhart, the most convincing argument is that they are hers. He says that they're more likely to belong to Earhart than 99% of individuals in a large reference sample, which, when you think about it,
thing is, like,
it's tiny.
Also the fact that the bones, weren't they buried?
Yeah, which means obviously Noonan, if that's the case, Noonan survived, she died, he buried her.
No, but no, and then buried himself.
And then vanished, or
No, because it was 2 sets of bones, wasn't it?
No,
One set of bones, 2 sets of shoes.
Yeah.
Or
So-
2 shoes, one
He
each.
walked away from the crime.
Also, it's
Hopped
the kind of
away.
thing where you're like, okay, so if he buried her, but then what did he do with the wrecked plane?
Washed away.
But it would
Especially if you
in a
said
local area.
Well, no, if they said the tide was low, so they might have been landing on reef
Yeah.
Tide comes in, takes it away.
Drags it, halfway across the world.
You should look at that trash pile in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Obviously, the bones are gone. Like, we can't look at them now. And it is problematic to base and make any definitive conclusions based on forensic anthropological techniques used in 1941 today. And because technology's moved forward and now we can tell much more from
I can tell by the
bones.
shape of his skull that he was a criminal.
But
Good old Lombroso over there.
But like I said, there were a lot of questions as to why she was there. And one of them was that she was a spy. So some allege that Earhart was more than just a daring pilot out to become the first woman to fly across the globe, but she was in fact a government agent. There was a book written by Randall Brink called Lost Star that theorizes that Earhart never intended to fly to Howard Island, but rather that she and Noonan were on a mission to document the goings-ons of Japanese island installations for the US government when they were detected by the Japanese and either shot down or forced to land. So that's conspiracy theory number 3, that she was a spy. Number 4 is that Amelia was taken prisoner by the Japanese, and this is a really recent finding. So in 2017, a documentary on the History Channel came out that found that a photo was discovered in the National Archives that depicts a woman who resembles Earhart sitting on the dock in the Marshall Islands near a man who resembles her navigator, Noonan. This photo is very far away. If you'd like to look it up, just Google Earhart and you'll be able to see it. It's a photo on the docks. It's very far away, and when it's zoomed in, people say that the woman sitting on the dock here is, in fact, Earhart, the only woman sitting down. Honestly, looking at it, it's a very low-resolution photo in black and white. It's very blurry because it's so zoomed in, and her profile cannot be distinctive of really anything. And the discovery of the photograph helped to substantiate the theory that Earhart and Noonan didn't crash at all, but instead landed on the Marshall Islands, where they were taken prisoner by the Japanese. This information comes from The Insider, who spoke to government investigator Les Kinney, who told NBC News that the photo clearly indicates that Earhart was captured by the Japanese, and despite Japanese authorities' insistence that they have no record of Earhart ever being in their custody. However, a blogger actually discredited this entire theory because what he did was a Google search. So what he did is that he typed in the name of the island on Google and found that the image was actually part of a Japanese language travel log about the South Seas that was published almost 2 years before Earhart disappeared. So page 113 states that the book was published in Japan-held Palau on the 10th of October 1935. Obviously, the photo cannot be of her and Noonan if they were flying in 37.
So theory number 4 discredited immediately.
Boom.
Yeah.
Shot down by the blogger.
Yeah.
By Yance.
Not the Japanese.
Rogue investigator. I just Googled it. Found out it was incorrect. Another case solved by Yance.
So
We haven't found her.
up until then, we've got theories that basically claim that she died. She and Noonan died. They were tortured. They died. But here are some theories that suggest that she did not, in fact, die. Theory number 5 is a little bit outlandish, and it's based on a 1970s book that was crazy popular called Amelia Earhart Lives, which was basically arguing that Earhart returned to the US and was basically given a new identity and became Irene Bollum, a housewife living in New Jersey. The problem...
That sounds like something she would do. All that, gallivanting and independence, and then she's like, housewife time for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your feet up.
So the problem, of course, with that kind of theory is that it doesn't fit her character.
Mm-hmm.
And problem number 2 is that there was already an Irene Bollum. And when she got a wind of the fact that people were trying to call her Amelia Earhart, she was like, no. And she sued the writer for loads of money. Theory number 6 is that Earhart survived and somehow made her way to the Guadalcanal. Because in 1943, during World War II, several Allied airmen reported seeing Earhart working as a nurse over there. The person they saw was probably Merrill Farland, a nurse from New Zealand. And
Who also discredited it and sued them.
Well,
She didn't sue
if
them,
the
but-
US, if she was working as a nurse in I'm assuming the US Army or Marine encampment.
Red Cross volunteers.
Yeah.
she was a nurse before
They would
she
turn
went
around and be
flying.
like, holy shit, that's Amelia Earhart, we need to publish this. They're not going to be there like,
Unless it was
whatever, serve your country first and then we'll report it.
Unless she of
With
course,
your-
was a spy and her identity was concealed.
Yeah, and if she was a
Or
spy...
your
they would
little
then-
to no knowledge of the human anatomy, but you know how planes work.
Yeah,
Like,
also-
surely
No,
when
but
they
she
were
worked-
like...
She did work as
She
a
did
nurse.
work as a
Oh, yeah,
nurse.
no, she did.
But also
yeah.
on top of that, that's what happens with spies. What you want to do is when they turn up when you thought they were dead, what you want to do is you want to keep them in a hostile area, change their identity, make them work as a nurse before you send them immediately back to your country for debriefing and hopefully then just disappearance. You actually go like, no, spying was just job one. Phase 2, if you want to get all the infinity gems, is you got to be a nurse for a little bit. And then she went off to become, I don't know, a Jeep driver and then a US Marine herself before the US would let her back.
So it was actually at Iwo Jima.
Yeah, she was. She's one of the people raising the flag, if you look at the picture carefully.
So,
The one the Japanese took from really far away.
Yeah.
so Merle Farland is...
For their tourist guide.
Merle Farland is...
Don't come here, Iwo Jima. Bad time for us.
Merle,
God's sakes, James.
I'm sorry.
Merle Farland is the person that they suspected her to be, who was a New Zealander, which obviously a Southern American accent is very very easy to conceal as a New Zealand accent, obviously. I'm
from New Zealand, you see.
we talk a little different down there. And people think that the reason that they thought that this was Earhart is because the island basically was mainly populated by injured men suffering from malaria and other diseases, and it could have been just a hallucination.
She just fit straight right in there with a dysentery.
Yeah. So theory number 7 is that Earhart was captured by the Japanese and became the Tokyo Rose. So related to World War II era myths that place Earhart in various specific theatre locales, including Saipan and Guadalcanal.
And under Douglas MacArthur's hat.
Exactly. This story originated immediately after the end of the war, and a rumour circulated that Earhart had spread Japanese propaganda that she wasn't a spy for the US, but she was in fact a spy for the Japanese. Her husband,
Shyamalan puts
her
his
husband-
pen down and sighs.
her husband actually spent years listening to hours of recorded broadcasts, but he didn't recognise his wife's voice. So little Georgie here, knowing that she was going to cheat on him somewhere out there, was like, where is this bitch?
I'm going to listen to Japanese broadcasts. Hello, I'm Amelia Earhart. I mean the Tokyo Rose. I don't love my husband. I love Japan. It's great. That bitch.
It's when he looks at the terms and conditions of their marriage and it just says, like, glory to Japan.
I can't love you. I love Japan.
Tandarika Banzai.
So the last theory we have is that Earhart was captured by the Japanese and then travelled to Emerald Island.
Freely, I'm assuming.
Of course. So a US Navy crew member in World War II told of being sent to this island and spotting a photo tacked up in a hut of a local man. The photo showed Earhart standing with a Japanese military officer, a missionary, and a young boy. The sailor alerted naval...
That's a weird D&D group.
The sailor...
I didn't need to mention the positions.
Yeah, Japanese officer, a priest, a boy, and Amelia Earhart. This is just bizarre.
So the
I
sailor...
wave my sword. I do air things. I pray. I play in the street.
Mate, it's a cleric.
What, I play in the street as the bard. You know it.
No, not...
The sailor alerted naval intelligence officers who apparently took the photo from the hut against the owner's wishes. The photo was never found. The Emerald Island has been...
I don't know why I'm just imagining the US officials being like, oh God, it's Amelia Earhart. Cover it up and one of them just eating it in front of the guy and be like,
So the sailor alerted intelligence officers who allegedly took the photo from the hut against the owner's wishes. The photo has never been found, but since Emerald Island has been a haven for Europeans stranded after shipwreck in 1940, it's likely that the photo probably had a look-alike and not the real Amelia. So here are our theories. As you've heard, many of them have been discredited and seen as unlikely. I think the theories referring to her being the Tokyo Rose, or her ending up on Emerald Island, or her being this New Jersey housewife, they don't make a lot of sense. In my opinion, what happened was that she became a person of interest, and I think in a time of war, I think her association with the government probably meant that she was encouraged to become like an informant. I don't think she was a spy. I don't think she was intelligent enough
Just
to be...
Just to be really clear, when was she flying over the Pacific?
37.
they weren't really at that, like,
Bear in mind,
Yeah.
Japan, the US and Japan don't go to war until 1941.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
No, but the tensions were really, really high, and the U.S. had this like relationship with Japan where they were kind of like walking
But
on eggshells.
as you said, they've cut off the oil supply and the metal supply in 1939, and that's really the beginning of the super tensions.
No, but who's to say that this wasn't a move that was informed by what was spotted by Amelia?
But also,
Earhart?
you have to remember that a lot of it's same with the defeated powers of World War II. A lot of rooting through those archives has been done. It's why we know so much about Nazi Germany. It's why we know so much about Imperial Japan, because they have their archives have been rooted through and rerouted through, and they also and again, there's a very large apology culture in those countries where they are trying to essentially atone for the war crimes they committed. So if that was the case, I don't feel that the Japanese government would keep it a secret. They would be very open about the fact that they did kill Amelia Earhart.
I don't think they killed her. I think I would think that she was sent over there on a mission to collect information.
I disagree. I think she went meow, and then she stopped going meow, and she went bloop into a big old Pacific Ocean, and she disappeared.
One thing that people were theorising was not the fact that she was actually a spy giving information, but basically her disappearance gave the US an excuse to search for her, which meant looking around Japanese islands, essentially.
Yeah.
So they often like try to negotiate to do flights over so they could look for her, which obviously I think Japan weren't really too happy about. So I think we're like,
They
no.
spent $4 million looking for this woman.
Yeah.
It's like she was a celebrity at best. I mean, they had no real reason to be spending that amount of money after a war, like on finding a celebrity.
After a depression, it's the more recent.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
But that's the thing. That's why people theorize that
Yeah.
America was there. Like, yeah, don't worry, we'll look for her. The American government, like, yeah, we'll definitely have a look for her. Near
but they weren't
Japan.
looking for her. And that's the thing is, at the end of the day, it's very hard to hide things on islands, especially little islands in the Pacific. They're not that big. They don't. They're pretty small things. The Pacific Ocean, on the other hand, is the largest body of water known to man. I don't imagine we're going to find a bigger one yet. We've pretty much got the globe sorted in terms of size, so Pacific wins.
In terms of the like focal point where the local area within.
Yeah.
In terms of the local area where she was last heard from, they searched that area like loads. Like there were several missions where they looked for her. The problem is that yes,
I want to
of
bring
course,
up something.
yes, of
I want
course
to bring
there
up
are
something
two
really.
people that go missing.
Do you remember the Malaysia Airlines plane?
No, I know. I was
Still gone.
Yeah,
and
of
that's
course.
with all our modern technology, searching the areas where we know it landed, it crashed, or whatever, where we theorise. The point is that the sea is vast.
Yeah, of course.
And things sink and tides move it and it disappears. So, in my opinion, if you want to hide a body, dump it in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it will disappear. Firstly, if you've got the access to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and Cthulhu doesn't mind you stepping on his turf. But at the end of the day, on an island, you'd find wreckage. On
Yeah, no,
this,
that's-
you dropping into the ocean and disappearing makes the most sense.
yeah.
Yeah, but that potentially could happen.
Yeah, but then, as you said, it makes
But
sense the
it
US
would-
would then spend that much money looking for her,
But would
bracket.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the fact that the plane, before they fully took off on this journey, had so many technical difficulties? Do you think?
I think that's a good sign that they weren't working for the US government, because I don't feel
No,
like the
I
US
don't.
government is like, here's your spy plane, but we're going to make it not work. Hard mode spy.
No, but I mean, is it super unlikely that like the plane may have been tampered with to guarantee that its failure? Because at the point when she took off from Laos, if I'm not mistaken, she had 3,000 miles
But it didn't fail,
left.
did it? Because of the plane's technical difficulties, it clearly ran out of fuel. If it had technical difficulties, the last transmission would have been, we're out of fuel and we can't find this island. That
She
was
said
the big
she-
problem. That was the big problem. We can't find the island. Not, oh, my plane has just stopped working and a little flag has popped up the glove compartment that says courtesy of old Franklin D, and I'm crashing.
Well, I mean, just because she was a a competent pilot doesn't mean she was competent at understanding like the various mechanical things that
Like
are
a fuel
involved.
gauge.
No, but I'm saying that like, I mean, you can put a hole in a fuel canister and make more leak out than should. No?
Yeah, but this is the thing. You were talking like, again, You're talking about 1937, I think, was it? When she disappeared, 1937. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're talking about the U.S. government sabotaging the plane of a person trying to circumnavigate the globe just so they could justify going to search the islands. No, they didn't think that far ahead. If they were using the justification to check the islands, they were doing it after the fact, because it's a lot easier to come up with that idea after the fact rather than have a group of sneaky American spy men poking holes in Amelia Earhart's engine like Sebulba, like. And they go off because they want to win the pod race.
I feel like Japan's rise to the global market would have been enough cause of concern for them to start thinking a couple of moves ahead.
Okay, there's a couple of moves ahead, and then there's
Sabotaging your own celebrity.
chiseling a checker piece to look like a pawn, just to slip it onto the board when no one asked, and no one's going to question why you have more pawns than necessary.
I'm in the same boat as you. Like first time I listened to this, when I heard about this, I was on board of she crashed. That was an accident, obviously.
Yeah.
But then America was like, yeah, don't worry, public completely took advantage.
This is the thing that I get so annoyed with all these conspiracy theories, is they always act like people had this grand plan, whereas at the end of the day, right, we've all been in a situation where something goes wrong and then you immediately realise how you can monopolise on it, rather than you creating this situation in the first place just to monopolise on it. At the end of the day, Amelia Earhart crashed because she didn't have any fuel, she didn't know where she was going, and she plopped into the ocean, and then the Americans saw that and was like, good justification to go searching around those islands. I do not believe that they had all these technical faults and blah blah blah. At the end of the day, it was a 1937 plane. Technical faults are gonna happen. They're not these super engineered machines. They are essentially balsa wood and metal that's propelled by a car engine on the front and a big propeller.
Yeah, but I also feel like it was a very special time in history where they've just been through a world war and they could feel that the power vacuum was encouraging. Well, not encouraging.
I think we overestimate how much sense people have of the magnitude of their surroundings.
Yeah,
it's very easy for us to sit back, like in hindsight, to say, like people in 1937 must have known there was going to be war. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Japanese were fighting a war with China, but for us in Europe.
Yeah.
To go, or in America, this is going to explode.
Yeah, bearing in mind Neville Chamberlain was still waving a piece of paper about saying peace in our time.
I mean, like if you think about the situation in the world now, even though it's really fucked up and there's like serious conflict in the Middle East, not everyone's going around saying, "Oh, it's World War III in the next 2 to 3 years."
No, but I guess I don't know if I remember my history correctly. I mean, to be honest, I just find the whole story really
It's an interesting story, but it's not. I do not believe the Japanese government shot her down, kidnapped her, made a film pro-Japan propaganda.
I thought you were about to say Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, made a film Tokyo Drift. She was like, it sucks, and they shot her.
Yeah, I don't think the Japanese government had much to do with her disappearance.
No, and I don't believe the American government had either. I think it's like if an explorer goes missing in the jungle and people start saying, actually, the British government poisoned all his rations so that he would die in the middle of Rhodesia, so they could colonise Rhodesia. It's like, no, not at all. It's like, that would be like arguing that Dr. Livingstone dying is the reason why King Leopold II got the Belgian Congo. Basically was just sitting there like, I made him sick with malaria. It was all my plan to get my hands on the Congo. Like, no.
Okay, but what I was going to say is that from what I remember of my limited GCSE history, is that Roosevelt was a wise leader.
He was a cunning snake, yes, he was, but he was not I'm going to kill this random pilot to justify going around the islands.
Well, not even random pilot.
Yeah, like
very prestigious pilot.
I'm going to sabotage her thing so she crashes, and then I can go and investigate.
Maybe he hated women.
It's just too much. It's just no one thinks like that. Like that is the kind of stuff where the only people who think like that are the authors controlling the story because they know all the pieces.
These theories fall in the spectrum from realistic to unrealistic, and loads of people have gotten involved in trying to find out. And the reason why they keep spawning, even today, the reason why photos from 2017 come up in the news and people say, aha, we've solved Amelia Earhart's disappearance, is because the amount of evidence is absolutely tiny. These bones that were allegedly found have disappeared. There is reports of the wreckage being found on this island and the other island, but where is it now? There is no conclusive evidence to say where she is and where she could have disappeared to, which leads us to believe that the theory that she perished in the ocean is the most probably accurate. Why she was there, again, is very difficult to whether or not she was a spy, whether she had any involvement, again, is very, very difficult to kind of point a finger to. But you might find it interesting that Noonan was actually before he came on this flight quite high up in military, and he just happened to be the person who was assisting her on this flight. There are some interesting stories about what he was like, and maybe you might find that helpful towards supporting your bias and thinking that Amelia had something to do with American espionage. And that was the end of conspiracy theories. Many conspiracy theories for one very special lady. And now we'll be moving on to creepypastas, which means you can relax and stop listening to the sound of my voice, because now you have souls.
You can't relax. I've changed it. Mixing up now. She said relax, don't do it. I'm saying, Frankie, calm down, but don't calm down. It's creepypasta time. You're going to be irate and scared.
I like that the tone is already all over the place, like in most creepypastas.
I was irate and scared, but I was also listening to Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It was good. I was relaxed.
Frankie Goes to
Amelia
Hollywood.
Earhart was eaten by an Allosaurus.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood always scares me. No, but this... So, creepypastas, again...
Why doesn't he want to come? That's
scary
the best
stories.
bit.
Scary stories on the internet. If anyone's heard of Slender Man, originally creepypasta, but that wasn't a more successful one.
It was originally called The Tall Boy, but they changed it when they didn't.
He grew up.
The previous ones that we've done were rated between like 6 and 7. The next one's 7 and 8. But this, like ones that I've got, I don't know about this one, but some of them like 8.9.
They're premium.
Yeah, these are like top shelf pastelinos. Like
these are your your Fuseli. Like these are the big sellers.
No. Because like when you go to Sainsbury's, you've got like the different shelves of pasta. You've got like the ones I can't remember the names, but you've got the blue ones. Then you've got the black package.
Oh yeah, and then you've got the one that's like all different colours.
And then at the bottom of it, you've got like the basics.
You've got the Del Monte. That's it. Del
Taste the
Monte.
difference. Yeah, it tastes like shit.
And the trend that we've discovered thus far reading creepypastas is that the higher rated it is, the worse it is.
Yeah, it's like someone basically, to save costs, was just putting the Sainsbury's basic pasta into the expensive pasta bags.
And people were just lapping it up. They're like, this is good Del Monte.
Oh, right. So this one is called It's Not Your Friend.
All right. I'm intrigued. Yeah, Canadians, that's what it's about.
I'm afraid to look outside my window at night. I guess some people are. It's just paranoia, right? You don't want to look outside your window at night to come face to face with an adherent creature. But
okay, like the rationality just disappears. It's like we don't like looking out our window at night. Well, not really. It's dark. It's
pointless
and pointless. Yeah, it's all dependable on obviously what floor you're on. Because if you're on the ground floor, it's like I'm worried there could be just a random person walking down the street, and I just like look out my window directly into his face, and he's like, "What?" Like,
also, curtains.
Yeah, but then say if you live at the top of an apartment block, and you're like, "I'm worried there's something out there," like a demon with a jetpack.
But the issue I'm having is not the fear; it's the fact that the thing has to be adherent, which to me feels like it's it's stuck.
Oh,
to
there's
the
a
glass.
ghost starfish again.
But look, so far so good. I relate to the fear. I used to live on the ground floor and be
Minox.
terrified.
Yeah, but you were scared of Minox.
Not to spoil it, but it's not on the ground floor.
It's Minox.
It's Minox.
Okay, I'm still scared sometimes when I look out the window.
3-story foot tall creature, just like looking in like a little.
It's the BFG. You know the bad giants, the ones who were called like Spleen Chomper and Dick Ripper.
Okay.
He was an angry giant.
Okay.
No, but Dick's short for Richard.
Richard Ripper.
Yeah. Reference to Spring Hill Jack.
Yeah.
Because this is the visual part of the podcast, I just want you to know that James raised his eyebrows at Richard Ripper like he just came up with a character for his book.
No.
Like, yes.
No.
And he's an Allosaurus.
Richard Ripper is not going to be the name of Amelia Earhart's lover in the plane. Dashing pilot with a moustache like Stalin's, but not quite as despotic.
Take her for a ride.
But he ruled her despotically for that one night.
Before it crashed into the ocean.
Anyway, conspiracy theories is over. But again.
It's never over, Saul.
But again. Nice. But again.
One more time?
And again and again and again.
That's the
If you
end.
keep interrupting, I will have to repeat. But again.
Why did you sound like Sonny out of iRobot? If you keep interrupting, I will have to repeat. I did not murder him.
But again, I did not murder him. It's just paranoia, right?
Paranoia, man.
Too many scary movies. Spending too much time on creepypasta. No, fourth wall breaking. Well,
Shattered.
shattered. Shh. Let me just tell you that you have a reason to be scared. Ghost starfish. No. Sounds like a sex move.
A special type of window cleaning agent that becomes sticky when used and causes people to stick to the windows.
I was thinking more like when you said like window cleaner. I was thinking like someone
How
out
often do you
there
come into the
cleaning all...
contact of an outer window? Why do it causes people to stick to
It's
it?
a
Or something
window
just like
cleaner.
leans his head. It's your dad. Like, yep, hands on it again.
Okay, wait,
I have to wait
wait,
for my son to look out at night.
Sorry to segue, but like, the thing is, I found we had window cleaners, and I found them terrifying because they always came unannounced, and things like I never drew my curtains, so I'd be there,
Bollock naked.
bashing one out, and I hear clink, and I'm like, that's a weird noise outside my window, and then you
Better
see,
get closer while still touching myself.
and you're there. No, but no, honestly, the amount of times that I wouldn't realise, and the thing is, you had been to my house, yeah. You know, when I was in the small room, I had the sliding door and then face to face with a window, essentially, because it was a very small room, pretty much a cupboard, but with a window, so not a cupboard. And I'd slide that door open, and sometimes I'd just be face to face with a man just staring at me whilst he's cleaning the window, because I wouldn't know he's there. And that in itself was terrifying. I'm more scared
Did he
of
smile?
window cleaners than I am of adherent monsters.
Okay, hear me out, Saul. New blockbuster horror movie. Demon window cleaner. First he cleans
No
your
ladder.
window. Then he eats your soul.
Nice.
It's a big jump up.
Okay, so occasionally you glance out the window. You might want to know what the weather is like, or you might have a completely different reason.
I like how he didn't bother to come up with any other reason for looking out a window. Like, he just had one. He was like, check the weather. And then it was just like the number 2 and like the line telling him for the list being like,
Something else.
any other reason?
James, regardless of your reason, you're not expecting anybody to be standing on thin air outside your window. You look at your computer screen. It's getting late. It's just you and your friend at home. You look over at him and realise he's fallen asleep already. You should go to sleep.
Why would
Only
you
6 hours into our Age of Empires 2 session? What a scrub. His base is mine. No mercy.
That's so bad that they said you wouldn't expect somebody floating in the air, and then they proceeded to talk about their friend, which makes you think that they're talking about their friend floating outside of the window. Like, just completely.
You look
bothers-
over at him outside the window, asleep, floating. No,
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the sentences are too close together.
you should go to sleep, but you want to spend a bit more time reading
Conquering
some
it.
creepy pastas. Who the hell sits at home with like? No wonder he's fallen asleep, right? So you've got some. Okay, don't fall asleep whilst I'm reading these. However, you see, one friend is there just reading creepy pastas, and the other one's just got bored and
Can
fallen
I go
asleep.
home now?
Yeah,
No.
These are the ones that I wrote.
What if the floating man comes back? You do realise when I say that I'm your therapist, it doesn't mean I have to be your friend.
You see a shadow in your peripheral vision and immediately shift your eye to the window. Nothing. You're relieved. You look back out your computer screen and hear a loud thud outside of your window. Ladder. Window cleaner. He's there. Nighttime window cleaner.
Lit out with glow sticks he's got strapped to him.
I've been to a rave.
They call me the Firefly.
Oh, God, nighttime window cleaners would be terrifying.
Yeah.
You're sleeping, you hear a noise at the window, and you just look out
can I
to see a
add-
guy cleaning.
Yeah, but can I, you want
Jesus Christ.
just pushing
You know what
an
would be
invoice to
even
your front
scary?
door.
What would be even scary is those, those entertainers you see on like Trafalgar Square. It's like a optical illusion. So
With
it's
the
like
stick on the
Yoda,
stick.
like that.
You're
Still
telling me
cleaning
you'd be
your
more
window.
scared of seeing
Multitasking.
Yoda on a stick outside your window at night than a window.
Or just one of the
cleaner.
statues, like painted gold, like pretending
Yeah.
to be a statue just outside your window.
No, they're creepy.
They're
They're
really
creepy as
fucking
hell.
creepy.
Because if they were on a ladder and someone's doing like a living
What,
statue, just open the window, just
Yeah, it just goes, you prick.
I've worked so hard on this.
Aragorn, like, what the fuck?
He just
is
shakes the
But
tin
you
for
have to obviously
coins.
climb up the ladder. I like the idea of you hear the ladder go dunk up, and then slowly rises the man in the pose. But he's climbing only with his legs. You can't see. It doesn't
calves,
change.
yeah.
He's like comes up with a smile and the hands up like, and just poses there. You're like, go away. I'm
just opened the
reading
window.
creepy pastas, and he's
Yeah.
there just looking in.
Right, You shift your eyes to the window again, a bit more scared this time. You are right to be scared. You see your friend's body hanging outside your window. You are horrified. It's then that you realise that your friend was in his bed a few minutes ago. You look over at his bed and see someone lying there. That's not your friend. The monster has snuck into your room and gone to sleep because he was really fucking bored of creepypastas.
Because he was sick and tired of waiting for you to notice him outside the window. He was like, for fuck's sake,
I'm killing your mate and taking it. He was in my bed. It's my bed.
That's
now.
it?
Yeah, that was it.
So you're telling me, essentially, sleepy bugaboo kills a friend, and he's like, oh, I'm tired of murdering for the day. I'm gonna go hang about the window, go to sleep.
Or it's the kind of goof that you like. He thought that the guy at the computer was going to actually look around from the shadow bit. It's like, no, I'll lie in his bed. He'll turn around and see me. It's like he's there for like 5 minutes. Like, I've committed to this goof now. I've got to stay here. But you can't
and then he legitimately nodded off. Like he's just like.
Okay, guys. Next one, number 2.
Okay, how would you rate that one? 8.9. 8.9. I wouldn't say 8.9. I would give that a resounding
4.
Well,
I wouldn't even say 4. It was pathetic.
don't
4 out of 10.
No way, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 is like, I don't know.
Look, there was a beginning, middle, and end. There was some.
There was not a beginning.
There was
and
a
end.
fear
Right.
that tried to.
He tried to
weave
talk about.
into
He
it.
tried to listen. This is the same story that goes. You could look out of your window for a plethora of reasons, like checking the weather and counting street lights.
No, because
No.
at least that's the second example.
Yeah, good point.
He didn't even do that.
No, he just went whatever reason. Like
Right. Number 2 would make M. Night Shyamalan cry. This is called Twist Ending.
nice.
I wonder if there'll be a twist.
A working title by M.
don't-
Night Shyamalan indefinitely.
Oh, no, don't worry. There is a description of this creepypasta. It's called The Twist Ending is a spooky short story with a plot twist at the end.
Nice.
It's the plot twist that there is no twist.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That would be the
You
only...
know what?
In a story where you're telling them that there's a plot twist, the only plot twist that you can have is that there isn't a plot
But at the
twist.
same time,
I
there's
hope there
still a
is no
plot
plot
twist.
twist. And secondly, why isn't
There's
this
no
man...
plot twist.
This man clearly,
A plot twist?
this man is clearly, or woman is clearly a very high up Hollywood producer with incredible ideas like call the film plot twist, but tell people it has a twist in it, and it's about that. Wouldn't that be implied by the title? No, we don't deal in implication here. People are morons. Just call it twist ending and tell everyone's got a twist in it. I'm off to film Gremlins 3. This one's going to have right proper big tits.
Oh, okay, so right. There was a very famous author named David. No second name. He was like Madonna. Who had written a...
Or the guy in the Bible.
Yeah. That guy.
King
No,
David.
Oh, right. I was thinking Jesus. I was like, he had a second name. Christ. Who had written quite a few best-selling
So
horror
his stage
novels.
name.
I am not David. No.
So there was a guy called David.
He was quite famous for best-selling
His
horror
surname,
novels.
well, it's quite interesting. His mum, when he was born, decided to give him a bit of an interesting middle name. Because obviously his real name is David Sue, but his middle name is Mary, because after the great aunt. Because clearly... Oh, an author called David who wrote a load of really good horror novels. Not like this David who writes creepy pastas and doesn't understand why his parents keep locking the doors whenever he leaves.
Okay. All of the literary critics praised his talent for plot twists and surprise endings. He received a large amount of fan mail every day from some budding authors, even sent him some manuscripts in hopes that he would help them get their work published.
But he knew that the reason he didn't have a surname is that it was much like his father, absent.
While David took pleasure in responding to the letters of his fans, he took even more pleasure in stealing the ideas of amateur writers. He came across a manuscript with a great idea for a scary story. He would use it in one of his own books and deny the author any credit. Then, in order to hide the theft, he pulled some strings with his friends in the publishing industry to make sure that the original author never got anything published in the future.
Oh my
Plot.
god, I'm
Finished? No, it's not.
But
It's
the
not
thing
over.
is, like, this would
I thought
this
he was
would
the good
easily
guy. This is such a
start
twist.
happening. So it would be like once or twice, maybe get away with that. But then people, obviously, in today's day and age, have online copies
What
of their
about Dan
work
Brown?
and could just go,
What about
Yeah.
Dan Brown?
yeah, or several authors actually, like J.K. Rowling, who managed to sue the person who came up with the plot for Harry Potter, but
What
wrote
about-
it in the 80s for stealing her idea.
What about literally any other young adult novelists? It happens a lot, actually.
Yeah, Tracy Beaker is just a bitch.
Tracy Beaker is Hannah Montana. We all know it.
I thought you were going to say Hannibal Lecter, which I'd be way more up for. In the dumping
Just
ground,
like
there's
eating
many,
more
many
things.
meats unavailable.
Imagine if Tracy Beaker was actually fan fiction of Hannibal.
What Hannibal Lecter sits down, he's got this, these like really
No,
like
not him
high
writing.
society
I'm saying-
things. And he writes Tracy Beaker. He sits down. He's got his human kidney and his Chianti. He's sipping on it. He's like, if I was an 11-year-old girl,
That's the only thing that can
Clarice,
explain
could you
the
bring-
cruelty of the world that Tracy lives in.
I'm going to write a
Canon.
book after you, Clarice. It's going to be called Tracy Beaker.
Okay. One day, David received a manuscript in the mail. It was bound in a beautiful hand-covered book. He read the first chapter and felt that he knew how the story would end. As he continued reading, he became more and more certain that he could guess the twist ending. It was growing late, but he wanted to finish reading the manuscript and to see whether or not he was right.
It was the script for Call Me Maybe music video.
When David came to the final chapter, he realised that a few pages of the book were stuck together. Anxious to read further,
It's Anne Frank's diary.
he pulled pages apart. It was just rude joke after rude joke. And it was like this smut.
I swear I've read this before.
The twist ending is the fact that he tries to republish Anne Frank's like I've got a great horror story. Little girl in an attic hiding from the Nazis.
Yeah.
When
Her name is Jenny John. This is Anne Frank's diary, isn't it? No. You're never getting published.
It's Anna Honest.
He felt increasingly tired, but he still kept reading. Finally, he came to the end of the book. It was exactly the twist ending he had anticipated. The husband had hanged himself, and his wife was committing suicide in the next room. David made a mental note to steal the idea to use for his next story.
I thought that was a description of something that was going on around him.
I'm going to kill myself. You do that, I'm stealing. Nothing gives me more pleasure.
Just then, he noticed after the words, "the end," there was a little handwritten comment from the author. It read, "I already know you're planning to steal the ideas of this story. I know because you did the exact same thing to me the last time I sent you a manuscript. You published it under your own name and didn't give me any credit. You ripped me off and blacklisted me from the industry. Nobody will accept my novels anymore, and I will never again be able to publish anything I write. You have ruined my life, and now I'm going to get my revenge." You had to pull apart the back pages in order to read this, didn't you? Well, those pages contained a poison. Arsenic, to be precise. Are you feeling tired? That is normal. Is it? Does anyone know arsenic poisoning? Because
I'm pretty, one sec.
no, don't worry, James. I can tell you the the highly likely way that arsenic is taken generally because it's in food and water. So
It has to be ingested, doesn't it?
it has to be ingested. You can get it in air, but it needs to be in a highly concentrated dose.
Yeah, but
So unless you open that book, tore the pages, and
what
there's
about the postman? Did he die?
arsenic dust just went into his face.
Yeah, actually it does. You can. There's a specific type of arsenic called trivalent arsenic. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's trivalent arsenic. It's 60 times more toxic than regular arsenic, which is absorbed by the gut. But again, it's a powder. It's not like
But again,
it's
he-
not like
so
you're
he-
like pasting
I know how
it.
they
You know
killed
what I'm
him.
saying? So
I know
he's-
how they killed him.
You open the page, started licking it.
Yeah, he's like,
No, but it's not that weird because loads of people lick their finger before they turn a page.
yeah, these were stuck together.
What, he licked his fingers?
You know, some people read books.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
I understand
lick
it.
The corner of
I
the page.
understand the whole.
But
then,
maybe he tried to lick his finger again to turn
okay, I
the page.
propose to you something else, right? Tiredness. Okay, so for arsenic being that to that level of intense, the main symptoms of arsenic are also convulsions, diarrhea, vomiting.
Yeah.
Like generally,
It was really
and also
absorbed in the
a
writing.
lot of those-
Blood in the stool was a big one.
Yeah, all of those things are generally happen more than first tiredness. Again, that's more carbon monoxide poisoning.
I see you've opened my pages. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Splatoosh.
I'll just breathe more.
Yeah. I'm dead. It's all this carbon monoxide in the book pages. I bet you've already burnt my book, haven't you? Haha, too bad. Anthrax.
I love this bit. Oh wait, are you feeling tired? That is normal. It's one of the symptoms of arsenic poisoning. Yes, it will be completely.
I
excluding
googled it all by myself.
diarrhea and vomiting.
Yeah.
He's there like, I need to finish this book. But even though that my bowels are just completely expelling.
Yeah.
And he's on the toilet reading the book.
Well, maybe he was already on the toilet. Loads of people read on the toilet.
Yeah, he's there absolutely emptying his bowels, just like, I don't feel good and there's blood in my stool, but I need to finish this book.
Yeah.
I mean, would you notice if you were taking a shit?
The
you were
thing
reading
is,
something?
you could easily say, you could have just said anthrax, because you don't have to inhale like it's dust form. It's really deadly. But no.
James, why are you criticising a highly rated creepypasta? I think you need to sit down.
I need to sit down. Yeah. I'm being too pedantic.
Okay, David's dying. Yeah.
Soon your heartbeat will get slower and slower until you eventually stop.
Which does tend to happen with all death.
Until it eventually stops permanently. Don't bother trying to call an ambulance. You'll be dead before they arrive. You've already been exposed too long. Goodbye, David. Some plot twist endings can be very hard to predict.
Please tell me it doesn't end there.
This was all a handwritten note.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like
That sounds like an
This isn't
A4.
a verbal dialogue. How often have you turned to like a paragraph in a book and accidentally looked halfway through it and then
Oh my God,
oh
that's
no,
so
this
true.
is the start.
Yeah.
We're like, oh wait, I'm dying. Oh god, wait, how? Hang on.
Now,
and then have to
okay,
read the whole thing.
there's also one problem with this, right? So David, right, he dies. They find his body. They figure out it's arsenic poisoning. They read the note. They realise that he was poisoned by someone that he previously used his work. He then goes through the previous fan mail and goes through his books and tries to find two stories that are exactly the same, find out who wrote that, and then there we go, you have your murderer.
Yeah, but who knows if the killer intended to get away with it? What's more kind of
Concerning.
concerning for
Is
me
that's the end?
is that like, don't worry, David, you're going to die because you stole all my great ideas, just like my silly friend. I feel like there was a lot of a little bit of personal grievances being aired there.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think
A friend stole his idea.
I think the author of the story had a friend called David who stole his idea and probably like released it somewhere else. Maybe even he copied and pasted his creepypasta on a different platform, got more recognition for it than the original, the OP. And the OP's like, okay, right, bitch, I'm gonna write a story about you, David.
Twist ending, and it's going to be a story of a twist ending.
I mean, was it a twist ending? What did
With
you
a description called twist ending.
Yeah.
Well, no, because we were predicting a twist ending, so it's not a twist ending because we saw it coming. Yeah. We knew that there was going to be a twist, and the creepypasta.
To be honest, once it was revealed that David's not a nice man, as previously stated at the beginning of the story,
Did anyone else feel?
I felt like he was going to die.
Did anyone else feel like when he was reading, like, you're feeling sleepy, aren't you? And your heart rate's slowing down. Thank you, WebMD.
Oh my god! Oh wait! That creepypasta was at the same time as the other one because it was the friend that was hanging himself next door. Yeah. See?
And David was actually the monster on the bed because he was dying and exploding. He's like, you smell bloody shit.
All the blood seems to be just coming out of my.
But damn, this is a good read. Oh, better read this threatening handwritten note.
The next one, this is the one that is actually 8.9 out of 10 from 2,500 votes.
Stand and be counted. That's what I have to say.
It gets an almost full S out of 10 S's and 9 S's out of 10 S's. That's the rating system.
Why is that a rating system of S's?
I don't know.
Spook?
It's like, it's probably spook.
Yeah, probably.
But
level.
can you imagine if you were seeing a horror film review and that comes up, it's like, dum dum, you don't know where they're coming from. Dum dum, critics are raving about the new film called Blackest Night. The Guardian gave it 4 spooks out of 5.
Okay. Now,
the Times gave it 9 scares out of 10 scares.
I think if you want to look at creepypasta tropes and like things that generally occur, this is a perfect one because the amount of creepypastas I've read, the amount of times that this story has come up, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, just bear with me. You would have heard this very similar. It was 4 in the morning, and I woke up screaming.
Of course, already.
I woke up screaming. It was my dream. In my dream, I watched everyone I ever knew or loved be killed by the creature. It had a short, fat body and long, slender arms, which ended with claws that looked more like swords than claws. Its eyes were slits that glowed red in the darkness, and its teeth were long like horns and sharp like steak knives. It looked at me before it killed them, and laughed each time before it ripped apart my loved ones with its sharp claws. How had it found us?
Did he really need to specify that he ripped it apart with the sharp claws. Could have just been like, and he ripped them apart. I don't need you to be like, rather than ripping them apart with his fat, chubby body.
With his feet.
Yeah.
I just feel like the description is more rude. You know? It's not scary to see like a fat little creature with tall teeth.
Slender arms and like
The thing
claws.
is, like,
He's just there
when
like, I don't work out.
One thing that annoys me, right, is the fact that when you go to horror writing, it's really good to be vague when describing the creature.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want a solid description. I like horror movies that do well are the ones where you don't see the creature fully.
Yeah. For as long as possible.
Yeah.
Or it kind of takes the guise to something that's really relatable. Let's say It Follows, where it could be anyone, and that's the spook.
Or just
of
it.
Yeah, and you never see what the creatures look like in reality and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, it does turn out to be like a giant spider thing, but it's obviously as close as the human mind can understand what it is, because of course Stephen King was like, I found Lovecraft.
Yeah, basically. How did it find us? It tricked me into letting it into my home by mimicking the voice of my father.
When I opened the door and
When I
realised
saw the
it wasn't
silhouette
my
through the
father.
glass door and saw that it was a long steak knifed faced
No, I couldn't
chubby
see
thing.
it. No, I know it was too short.
Yeah, it was like, hello.
No, this guy's
I'm
dad is
murdered.
Danny DeVito.
So Danny DeVito is just killing everyone.
Oh god, that is just headcanon now. Danny DeVito playing Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With my huge monster dog.
I was cutting him up with his monster dong.
It tricked me into letting it into my home by mimicking my father's voice. It couldn't come in without permission. It told me after it ripped my mother's heart out.
Seems like a weird.
So like he was there just ripping the heart out, just like
I couldn't come in unless you invited me.
like
You
a
feel like a
vampire.
chump now.
like a vampire. The dream had ended with the creature laughing its evil cackle.
Wait, he had to open the door. Yeah? Does he open the door with a come in? Oh shit! Like,
Oh yeah,
he opened the door.
Go away.
you're not allowed in.
No, but I thought it was
Sorry.
Can't come in, please. And murder. I mean, love you. What the hell? Like, she's like he's like he was like expecting someone. He like skipped, like kind of gave
Come
into the door.
in!
Come in! Throws it open, and it's just like fucking idiot.
So
By the way, is everyone you've ever met and loved in this house right now? Why, yes.
everyone,
Perfect.
everyone.
I'm a very sheltered child.
No, the thing is, everyone you'd ever.
Met. Oh, there's just some poor bus driver like, why are you killing me?
You were nice to me
I was
once.
just
and I
feeding the
fell
cat
in
in the
love.
pantry with, the postman and the guy at the bank you spoke to
How
once.
does he know? It gets to a point where there's everyone you've ever met. Like, it's the point where you just think it's your family and a load of random people. Because would you remember? It's like, oh god, that's that guy who told me I couldn't get into the concert when I had a ticket, but it was slightly worn. And over there is the cashier from that Walmart I went to one time when I was travelling across the country.
Maybe-
and over there, the pilot that
Is
was
it
on the announcement.
Is it everyone I met, comma, and loved? Or is it everyone I met and loved?
No, or everyone I ever knew or loved.
Never knew.
Never
oh
knew.
my god.
Well, at least
Poor Margaret, who's the woman on the phone to him. It's like, hi, yeah, I'm
No,
going
I
to do your
feel like-
Vodafone account. Now she's getting murdered.
I feel like new narrows it down a little bit, because like met could just be people you've walked past in an airport.
Yeah,
New is like you at least kind of knew their name and what they did.
Even then, that's so like,
Oh,
oh yeah,
yeah.
that's the guy who I
People.
go to Burger King. I've seen him a few times, yeah. Murdered, unfortunately, by the thing I accidentally let into my house. The angry Danny
Guys,
DeVito.
getting ahead of ourselves. This was a dream.
Oh yeah, this
Don't
was
forget.
Yeah, of course.
Someone cancelled It's Always Sunny, and Danny's just he
He's
can't
gone
handle it.
So, the dream ended again with the creature laughing its evil cackle and slowly walking towards me, dragging its claws along the floor. I screamed. I sat up. I was in my room, in my bed, safe again. 4:03. I hear a knock at my door. I froze instantly.
Cackle in.
It's me, Danny DeVito.
Tommy!
Why is he sounding like? I just imagine this short little fat thing.
Sorry.
No, then.
Yeah.
Tommy! I heard you screaming. Are you alright?
So is it Minnie Mouse?
Tommy?
Tommy, you little shit, you're waking everyone up.
Okay, can you
Your
imagine?
mother's really angry at you, and I'm trying to bone her.
I heard my mother say, "What a relief. My mum's here." "I'm fine, Mum. It's just a bad dream," I replied, with the relief washing over me. "Okay, honey. I've got you a glass of water. Do you want it?" Mum said back to me. "Sure, come in," I said. As those words left my mouth, I remembered that it was September and I had moved back into my college dorm 3 weeks ago.
You moron! Why would you forget that you... Clearly this person's never moved out. Do you wake up in the night and be like, Mother!
Yeah, but that's just my nickname for my housemate.
Like, have you ever woken up
It was
and been
Daddy.
like, I live with my mum? No, I don't. If you were to imagine knocking on the door now, it's your mum, like, so would you like a glass of water? Would you not just be like, what the fuck?
Okay, also, anyone that...
Hide the drugs.
I mean, James, you have actually met my mum.
Yeah.
Has she ever entered my room with knocking?
No.
No, she basically just opens the door and says, "Sold." I'm like, yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, there's no knocking involved.
Also,
Or maybe a knock, and then she immediately opens the door. She wouldn't be speaking through the door.
the
for
knock
that-
that's not a knock, which my dad is so good at, which is the whole knock with one hand, open the door with the other, and be just like, knock open. And you're like, what's the point of knocking if you're going to come in while the door's
Yeah.
still being knocked on?
It seems
It's a
really
noisy
strange.
opening.
Yeah.
It seems strange for the mother to really respect her son's wishes, but knock on the door, have pretty much like a couple of sentences of conversation through a door without opening it.
Yeah. And
Like-
just be like, I got you a glass of water, because that's what you do when you hear someone screaming. You're like, get the water.
Throw it in his face.
No, you just-
Surprise, bitch, danger's everywhere. Just run away.
no, it's quite thoughtful actually, because screaming makes your throat hoarse. So
I'll tell you
it's
what, I've never ever...
Mid scream.
Can you imagine what this Tommy kid looks like if his dad, Danny DeVito, and mum's Minnie Mouse?
He is the monster.
Yeah. And the door opened, it was a normal human with a pitchfork, like, kill it. Oh, you silly creepypasta.
Yeah, but
What garbage.
just of some of the ones I've read, like the whole like.
Waking up screaming is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
like
4 o'clock in the morning, 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Looking
It's
out your
the
window
magic
and being
hour.
like, you know what, the sound of rain on my window alluded to and has now been confirmed to the fact that it was raining outside. There are many other reasons to look out of your window at night and just sit back down.
No, but the thing is, like, with that whole trope, it's a lot of the time it's, you know, you had a bad dream at a period of time, like, let's say, 5 past 4, and something bad happens, you're being stabbed or murdered, and you wake up, and then you look at the time, and it's 4 minutes past 4, and then you hear the creak of the cupboard door open.
Yeah.
So, like, what you were dreaming is about to happen, and I fucking
Yeah.
hate those tropes.
Yeah, where it's just like, you had a prophetic dream of Danny DeVito murdering you, and he was going to. Come here, little bitch.
I think that one was, sorry, I didn't actually say the name, that one was called The Creature.
So, I mean, you know, with titles like that, why do you need to...
Oh no, sorry, it's not. It's called 3 past 4 or 4:03.
Yeah, 'cause that's the time of night.
Yeah.
Give us another one.
Now. Okay, we have. I've got choices.
Mm.
So we can have either
The Chunky Monkey.
they got the definition wrong. Is the title of one, or Jeff went left.
I want Jeff Went Left. Sorry.
Damn commie.
I mean,
That's the real horror story.
in all fairness, they're both short. I could probably we'll do Jeff went left, and we can finish off with the other one.
Jeff
We'll
went
see.
left, and he never came back. Killed in a Bolivian wood.
Right. So Jeff
Shaking
went
horror
left.
reference now.
If you're reading this note, I'm sorry.
I went left.
I assumed you were in the same situation as me. That smug bastard dragged you and dumped you in these catacombs with only a candle to find your way out. I don't know how many people he has done this to, but they're...
Nor where I got this paper and pen.
But they're...
I've stopped to write this note thereby wasting my candle that could have probably been better used finding my way out of these catacombs, but I guess I'm that kind of person. Oh,
I'm just
shit.
nice. I'm just nice. To the point of being a real beta bitch.
just wait. But there've probably been a lot. He wouldn't spend so much time on it otherwise, would he? He told me the catacombs are a maze, and he set traps and deadfalls
Unlike
at
those
every
linear
turn.
catacombs, which are just a big old line. Did you know my catacombs are a maze? Really? I thought it was just like an Olympic swimming pool, like just down and back and down and back.
He promised there was only one safe way out, if I'm lucky enough to guess the correct path. I'm not lucky. I'm just an art student, here on holiday. There's no way I'm getting out of here alive, but I want someone to. I want revenge. I'm sure you do, too.
You don't know me. You don't know me, Jeff. Maybe I like him. Maybe I'm his lover. maybe this is
You wake up in the catacombs and you're just like Stockholm syndrome straight away.
Straight away. That's my instant. That's my defense mechanism. Like one time I got stuck on a bus, I fell in love with everybody there because it broke down for 2 minutes.
So
we're all gonna die in here. I love all of you.
So let's help each other out. Art student. Don't forget, I still have my sketchbook and pencils. That's how he had it. Art student.
Nice.
Before each turn, I'm going to leave them behind for the next person, writing down which way I went. If I survive to another passageway, I'll come back and leave a page like this one. If I don't, there's up to you, the next person, to carry on and go an opposite direction. Eventually, if we keep leaving breadcrumbs, one of us will escape, get to the police and find that bastard. Do it for those who didn't make it. My name is Jeff.
Can you please edit in the actual meme into this bit?
My name is Jeff. I went left here.
Oh my god.
Okay, so that was the note. Reading the note by candlelight, you feel a glimmer of hope. Until you realise you're reading from the sketchbook itself. Jeff never returned to tear out the page, and you're the first person here since him. You look right.
You couldn't possibly know that unless you counted the pages. Unless it's actually...
No, because it's not a scrap piece of paper.
It's like a book, and it's just...
Sketchbook, not sketchpad.
Mate, par 1 for Jeff. Like, he went out on the first hurdle. He had a 50-50 chance he just went the wrong way and died. Imagine the killer was like, man, all that effort kidnapping a person, you're going to die the first minute.
The kid had a good idea as well.
Yeah, he's like, wow, I was rooting for him, but then he just went 50-50 odds.
No,
dead.
No. He went like this. He stood there. There was left and right. He flipped a coin. My name is Jeff. And there was just immediate deadfall. Just plummeted.
I like the idea that he couldn't decide between left and right. He's like, I don't want to play this guy's games. It's all a lie. I mean, what a crazy idea for that to be. So he just ran head straight into the division between left and right.
He just started punching the wall, trying to make his own pass.
Yeah.
But...
Well, he tried to Minecraft as well.
So it finishes with, you look to your right where the dark maze awaits. Shall we go through some of the comments?
What?
That's the end.
That was the end.
Which is basically not really a horror story, it's just about trying to help one another.
The title tells us more than the story itself.
Yeah, a different left.
No, it literally tells the entire story. Like, you didn't need to write the rest, like, you're going to just write, Jeff goes left.
The twist is the fact that you're in the catacombs.
Oh, Jeff died. Jeff isn't. Jeff is just his
What
life
happened,
sucks.
Jeff? You
Right,
started
okay.
so strong.
Come on, Jeff.
Right, by the way, I found this. This was not on any. This was on Reddit. Just a plug. So,
Yeah, they really need it.
Yeah.
They really need it.
Cheers, like Jim, for plugging the old Reddit. We've been struggling recently.
right, so top rated comment is, you fucking wordsmith, you. This was brilliant.
What was the username of that person?
MXYZPTLK.
Well, I mean, they clearly require
But
words. They couldn't even make
That's
up
not how
a
it works. They're
username.
like, I brought you consonants. Can you make a word, wordsmith? And he's like, I will forge what I can, but it's probably going to be the word Y.
The next one.
Unless you speak Welsh.
The next one is easily my favourite story in this subreddit, and that's by Dramrod. There we have, chills. That was amazing. So simple and yet so horrifying. By Hobbit Exerciser.
What? Hobbit exercise?
Oh yeah, this
Wait, is it like exercising hobbits? Or is it like making them run? Is it...
Whoosh.
No, it spells it like he's a personal trainer for hobbits. Like,
One.
wait, take a breakfast. No more breakfast, you fat fuck. Pump that iron.
Lift those knees upside my ears, you fat fucking...
I'm merry, you won't be when I'm done with you. Feel the burn.
Just beautiful.
Oh, mate, trying to sweat Sam.
Jesus, that was beautiful. Awesome story. Left me wanting more. That's not a good story. Surely... I don't like reading stories and being left
But Jeff
wanting
goes
more.
left. It's like, oh, you made a mistake already.
Let's go right, because Jeff doesn't come back.
Mate, I was expecting some mad twist where it was going to be like the guy
Well, wasn't-
left that note to deceive people deliberately. And it was going to be like, oh, we're going to use this all one by one. We're going to get out of here. But it turns out they get to the end and the entire thing was just a trap to do the wrong way.
See, that's the thing. If it would have been good if that was a trap set by the person.
But no, instead it was just like Jeff went left and died like a punk ass bitch, and now it's your responsibility to get at least a modicum further in the It's literally like going into the crystal maze, and it'd be like, okay, a simple challenge here, guys. Fill the water up, and what's he doing? Oh, he's hit his head against the wall. He's dead. Oh, well, he's locked in.
No, I guess that leaves. They got the definition wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh, these are all short, so it's fine. We can quickly rattle one off.
Okay.
They got the definition wrong. That's the one. So, it has been said. Shh.
Is that it? Is that the start? It has been said. Shh.
It has been said.
Whispered in cinemas and libraries.
So this person probably wrote this after playing Far Cry 3. It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Sips tea.
Did you expect a different result?
It's cold, so yes. I kind of want it still warm.
It's like drinking the same tea over and over, expecting it to get warmer.
But that definition of insanity.
It was Albert Einstein just quoted.
Yeah, so literally anything that quotes him. So
yeah,
it's pretty easy.
And also
it's not a technical definition of insanity. It's just his opinion.
Yeah, because if you look it up in a dictionary, it's not that.
Yeah,
the definition pretty much madness.
The definition of insanity is thinking that you could spook people with a story about your friend getting hung during an Age of Empires session. Age of Empires, well, you just
James.
hang. Cardinal Sin, Jamesy Boy was talking about. Well, to be fair, the characters in the story might as well be pieces of meat.
Okay,
I would much rather watch naked Danny
his
DeVito cut people up.
But sorry, if his friend was already dead at the point of him discovering his friend, surely at this point he was hung, not hanged.
No, because it's still hanged.
Yeah, like hanged.
When a human being is dead, it
it
doesn't immediately become an object.
Yeah,
like a
hung
picture.
is anything
to
but
me.
a human being.
Yeah, but you're
All right,
the one that
medieval
thinks-
peasant.
Yeah, you're the person
Sun's
that
over
thinks-
when they stop twitching. Let's go home.
It's like
Let's go wash your beheadings. At least you get some splash in them.
Don't forget, this is the same woman that posed down jump, and also
Yeah.
12 prostitutes dead isn't a big deal,
And neither's
36,000
yeah.
people dead from a volcano is still
I
not big
literally-
numbers.
okay.
Val, you know what you
I
are?
will
You are the
stand-
most sadistic of
Okay.
like Roman women, just
Okay.
reincarnated. Who's there like, oh, but I didn't get any guts on me, baby. There's only 17 deaths. You want my hand in marriage? You want me 17 dead Thracians?
I will stand by down jump. I will stand by the fact that
Krakatoa wasn't a big deal.
No. The fact that I said 24 hookers, like not a crazy amount of hookers, but
Not an alarming amount of hookers.
alarming is the word I used exactly.
I imagine you as a detective, like an NCIS, it's like, we found the 12 dead hookers lying in the harbour there, and you're like, well, it's not an alarming amount of dead hookers,
But
is
when
it?
I was talking about Krakatoa today, I said that proportionally that was a
branded?
devastating amount. Not as devastating amount as it would be today because the population is higher, but it was a
Krakatoa?
huge...
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's currently at 0.
No, but I mean... fuck's sake. I just meant like in the world, there were less people in the world at the time, so losing 36,000 of them was a pretty big deal. Bigger deal than it would be today to lose 36,000 people.
Yeah.
Is what I was trying to say, but I still think 24 hookers is not enough.
There's not enough hookers.
Right.
I wouldn't even put it on local news.
No.
I'm like, man finds that he got a triple pate in his Big Mac. I can't believe it.
I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with. I know, any spooky story that ends
starts
with...
with I'm dirt poor and people bet me to do it. Like, I'm going to make a story
And it's
just
a
called...
spooky hotel.
I'm going to make a story just called The Berry, and it's going to talk about this evil berry, and it's going to act like it's all haunted, and the twist is going to be that they're actually just cavemen trying to work out what's safe to eat, and he eats the wrong berry. So, Krug will eat red berry.
Krug ate the berry. Left on the note.
Yeah, Krug ate the berry. Now it's your turn.
Jeff not eat berry.
Yeah. Not red berry, but what
Jeff
about
turned left.
green berry? That was a non-form pine cone. Does not taste good. Cannot eat pine cone. Make shit bad.
Okay. So $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple. Just reach the top floor, the 45th floor, shine my flashlight through the window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator, so that meant
Do you think he reported it to the front desk that it was old and broken?
Yeah.
Do you think he didn't just take his $50 and walk out the back door?
No, I'm assuming they would give the money after.
Oh, right. You're telling what these local... Oi, go in a hotel, climb up the... I wouldn't... £50 to climb up 45 flights of stairs? Fuck that.
Yeah, regardless of it being haunted or not.
No, I don't give a shit.
That amount of
Someone just told me, walk 45 staircases. I'd be like, what, you want me to have a heart attack? No fucking thank you.
You know what I'd do? I'd say that to someone, 45 flights of stairs, $50, easy money. And then when you're at the 45th floor, pop your head out the window, let me know that you're there. The moment they pop their head out the window, I fucking leg it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
Yeah. Eat shit! Just off you guys.
By the time they come down 45 flights of stairs, it'll be fucking long done.
You could settle for a brisk jog and still be
Yeah, I
in
could
a
walk
different
away.
neighbourhood.
You could just walk away because also he's going to be knackered from
I
that
could-
flight of stairs. So you're just going to go, see you later, just walk off.
Well,
He'll be there like
no, actually-
wheezing his way down for his money, and you'll be
While
like,
he's climbing up the stairs, I'll have my Uber app ready. So, like, the moment he waves at me, I'll just go confirm, and then the cab will come and fuck off.
not even that. You can confirm it the moment he walked in the building, and the cab becomes like, oh, just wait 1 second, I'm waiting for someone. And then you see the flash, like, nah, don't worry, they're not coming. Just get in the car, just be like, just drive up, flipping the bird.
So,
I can't wait for my rich life when I do these shenanigans with poor people.
so yes, guys, so that meant hiking up the stairs. So up the stairs I went. As I reached each platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers. 15, 16, 17, 18.
6. I'd fallen.
I felt a little tired as I crept higher.
No shit.
A
Because that,
little tired.
No,
but so far, no ghosts, no cannibals, no demons. Piece of cake.
I did like it. Just
On the
like,
staircase. I
In-
ate it.
in
It gave
ruins.
energy. Thought I'm like, no.
yeah, I know, it's just like no ghosts, no spookums, no cannibals in haunted buildings because they're known to haunt them, you know, it's like... was this confirmed cannibal sightings? It's an image of a man just eating another man in an old building, like, leave me be, this is my safe place.
I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered the last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted them aloud at each platform.
What a dickhead.
40, 41,
42!
42, 43,
I think I'm a fucking moron!
44. I stopped and looked back down the staircase. I must have miscounted. So I continued up. 44. One more flight of stairs. 44.
A lift
then-
pinged next to me. I realised.
I'm just having a heart attack.
And then down 10 flights. 44. 15 flights. 44. And so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never ever change. That each door leads to the same staircase, to the same number. It's realization you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you'll be running for days, weeks or years. It's when the sobbing slowly turns into laughter.
Oh,
Point, right?
it's
He said
nice,
that I've
it's
been doing this.
inspiring.
I've been doing this as long as I can remember. How do you remember going in the building then and taking that £50 bet, dickhead? Clearly, you
It's a
remember
story he
more.
told himself. He took himself there. There was no money involved.
Yeah.
Top rated comment, I like this. Definitely the best story in this month. So not of like all time or anything, it's just like this month.
You know what? It's been a
At
slow
least-
month. You're pretty good.
At least, you know, it's realistic.
I love how like sometimes these like not gonna lie. Firstly, pretty much every creepypasta seems to have results being like, "This is the best thing I've ever read." Stephen King doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Magic 44 stairs. Or you get people just being like, "Oh, it's okay compared to the other drivel," and you're like, "Well, you keep saying other drivel, but everyone seems to be loving everything." Like, do you know what I mean? Like people rated the machine one. The machine one that was like, we blew up God with a vacuum cleaner strapped to a nuclear bomb that couldn't run itself. People were like, best story I've heard ever. You know what? Why aren't you Asimov? Why aren't you replaced Asimov? Like, fuck the 3 laws of robotics.
It's a positive community.
I do like
It
this
is.
comment though, by That's Lovely, wow.
Is that the comment or just
no,
their
no,
username?
no, that's the username. Does this remind anyone of the myth of Sisyphus? It's like, what, the hills of Tartarus?
Yeah, rolling it up, rolling it back down.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you mean to tell me that fucking Hades was like, yeah, I've got a fucking
But-
mansion floor.
But then it's dropped a little fact underneath by Et tu Tortilla.
Et tu Tortilla?
Yeah.
What a weird name.
The town of Boulder, Colorado was named after that myth.
I don't understand, right? What was the point in making...
Name the town after...
James.
It's going to be such a labour that it's a famous torture from Greek myth. This is what we want to name our town about. That's literally like me being like the devil's mouth as he chews Judas in Dante's Inferno. That's what I want to name my town after.
What I don't get about this creepypasta is what was the point in putting in the effort to say that this guy, for $50, has to climb 45 sets of stairs instead of 44? Why
Yeah.
does it matter?
Why does it matter?
He ends up on 44th floor.
Also, can I point out, why does it matter? Like, this is a
He's
really...
just trying to torch out.
This is a
To
really...
show he's got to the top staircase.
This is yeah, but then you could just be like, I get to the 45th floor, I open the door, I'm back in the flight of stairs.
I'm saying in terms of the structure of the story.
No, but he didn't get there. He
They
got
established
stuck
it-
on 44,
I know,
not
that's
the
what
top,
I'm saying. Why
one below
not,
the
why
top.
not just say 44? That's what you have to do.
Yeah,
That's the
that's what I'm
tallest bit. Because when he gets there, he can open the door and find himself in the same flight of staircase again and be like, what the fuck is this shenanigans? Like, it seems really irrelevant to go
45.
45
That's what I'm saying.
is the one you have to get to, but there is no 45. Also, on
No,
top
but
of
it's the fact that he got to the 44th, then up one more, and it was still 44. Then he went back down, it was 44. Then went back down even more, and it was still 44. It's like all the numbers from all of the staircases up and down just became 44, and he got stuck there.
Also, right, can I point this out? Only going to trap the fit. You're not going to get many...
Is that your motto, James?
Yeah, if it only traps the fit, I don't care. Because I'm not at risk. Because
do like-
again, this is me. You get your average person like go up 45 flights of stairs. No.
How much money would you have to be given to climb 45 flights of stairs?
45
We wouldn't be
pounds
dealing in
per
money.
staircase.
I want body currency. You know what I'm saying? Someone comes up to me
2,000
and
hookers?
they're like, yeah, at least 12, which isn't an alarming amount of hookers. Like, I'll be like, look, I'm feeling reasonable today. Only 12 hookers.
I think the story, if anything, is inspiring about how to turn, your woes into your woos. Because
Just go mad.
just go mad.
All right, the Joker over there. Just go mad. It's easy. Tell your woos, no, your woes into woos.
Okay.
Now I'm sounding more like Iago. Shut up, Iago, you little bitch.
So this was our last creepypasta, was it? Let's regroup, discuss favourites. My favourite was definitely the Dan DeVito one.
I honestly think the best written one overall was probably the 44th floor malarkey.
Yeah.
That was at least a little bit more interesting than the others, I'll give credit. Wouldn't give it like 8, I would give it like a solid 4, which is probably the best review I've ever given a creepypasta, so well done you.
So John, are you going to
Congratulations.
go for Danny DeVito, 44th floor, or what was the third one?
Yeah, Jonah, what's your... which...
Well, we had
loads.
There was twist ending
Twist ending.
with the arsenic poisoning, where the guy opened it up and just powdered, just he started just licking the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just started licking the pages, and it
He
was
was like,
Well, to be fair, in that story, it did say that he derived the most pleasure from stealing ideas, so maybe he did get a bit freaky with the ideas he was about to plagiarise. He was like, oh, baby, I'm not giving this off any credit. Licking the page, rubbing it on his nipples, like, oh, I want to steal
which was obviously
this story.
Anne Frank's diary.
Oh my god.
So John, which one was your favourite?
No, I don't like any of them.
Not even the Danny DeVito one?
No.
Not the 44th floor?
Not that
No,
my
no,
friend
they-
got hanged while I just read creepypastas. I think the friend killed himself, to be honest with you. Like, you're just trying to that. So, do you want to hang out or what? I'm reading. Why did you invite me over here?
So I wouldn't get scared. So
I
this
don't
night
like
would
looking out
only
my
be
window.
rented.
Fuck you. I'm doing it. I said I was going to do it tonight if you're an asshole, and you've been an asshole.
But first thing, I'm going to invite this Danny DeVito lookalike into your bed once I hang myself. And whilst the,
Why if we just...
To be honest, you know
whilst the
what?
next door neighbour violently vomits and has diarrhea.
I think though, yeah.
And there's just a guy running up the stairwell laughing, saying all of them are 44.
The only reason I think Danny DeVito's story was the scariest is because there's nothing quite like your parents dropping in on you when you
Wow.
moved out for uni, and like
Unsuspectingly.
you've started living, better.
Especially at night.
You
My
started
parents...
living different, you know.
My
What,
parents...
3 minutes past 4 in the
My
morning
parents
and
would
your mum's there like...
often turn up at night to my uni digs.
You know,
The thing that annoys me
They
about
don't
the
need to see
story...
that.
Right, okay, so he had a dorm.
Yeah.
So what, his door just opened onto the street? It's a dorm. Surely it's in a building with other dorms.
Yeah, someone else-
surely
Excuse
me, can you let me in? I don't want to murder you, I want to murder the man
he got
in
invited
four.
through every single security door until he reached the dorm. Imagine being like...
I'm just imagining this. It's like, like a uni kind of tenement block.
Yeah.
Lazy security guard there with his magazine. See this little fat thing waddling, dragging his sword hands along the floor. It's like, can't come in. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't even look up. Like, it just goes ding in, and then it's like...
No. They suspect it for being, like, weird, odd, whatever. But they know that he's not sure. He's like, would I be racist if I called it out for being different? Like, we made a big fuss about this campus
I'm
being
Tommy's
international and
Yeah.
tolerant.
So Bones has little feet, like, slapping front, goes up, bing, lift, claw hand slashes through
Can I
the
come
panel.
lift, please?
Like,
Lift breaks.
lift comes down, other group of rowdy students late at night go into the fucking SU. It just waddles in, it's like, you may be wondering about the hands of claws. They're not for you.
No, but the thing is...
Goes up to your, like, let's say you're on the fourth floor.
But
Ding,
what are you?
opens, waddles out.
Still the third floor.
Knock. Knock. One of your flatmates. Yeah? I don't want to kill you. I want to kill guy number 4, please. Can I come in? Yeah, fuck it. I don't give a shit. Let's see. Tommy!
The thing, like, if you... I wasn't...
I want to know its adventure. I want to know story.
I was in student halls.
I have to get invited in a borough?
No, but I'm saying I was in student halls and we had...
Dear Mayor of
We
London,
had-
can I please come in?
We had 2 security doors. Then we had we had one massive gate to get in.
Yeah,
You
I remember
visited.
it. Yeah.
We had the massive gate to get in, which we had a card for. Then we had the outside door. Then we had the
middle
dorm door.
Yeah.
Then we had my room. The thing is, like, if I was screaming when I was waking up, like, my housemates, my flatmates essentially would have heard it. My dorm mates, as you would call
See,
them.
I would think if,
No, to be
if
fair,
my flatmates
I lived
could
in a
hear me
flat block
screaming,
with
I wouldn't
13
blame them
people.
for letting someone kill me.
No, listen.
Yeah, but the
right.
thing is, like, if they heard like someone in the hallway, because the thing is, like, with
Yeah.
the hallway, because it's essentially loads and loads of doors to your bed.
Yeah.
So if they heard a woman's voice going, "Tommy," knocking on a door, you'd hear that.
No, also,
But maybe they're excited
I
for
would,
getting
I
pussed.
would be awake then because I didn't really. Sleep.
I'm just imagining, right? This is think about it. You don't think about a uni student. Yeah, you've got a lesson tomorrow. You're not giving a fuck. Maybe a bit high, whatever. You're a bit drunk. You hear kids screaming, "Oh fuck's sake, Tommy's out again with fucking night terrors." I'm gonna have to go shut him up. You open the door, a little squat fat thing walks past the glass. Don't worry, I've got Tommy. And you're like, yeah, I'm fucking high as shit. That's probably Margaret. I don't give a fuck. Close the door. Then you hear Tommy. Yeah, it's Margaret. Go to bed. And then you hear that.
You go to bed with...
Wait.
I don't know why he's actually got the water.
Yeah, in your mind, he actually had the glass of
Yeah,
water. Like,
yeah.
But through all the security doors, he's just holding this glass of water. Like,
No, he
"Plus
feels
one
it.
needs it."
He fills it up in your dorm. He goes into the kitchen, ignores like the fact that a couple of you having like a late night meal. Like, excuse me, I'm just going to use this glass. It's got like a birthday balloon on it. He's like, Tommy needs me. He goes up. He just waddles off. Because in my head, it's always about 3 foot tall. By the way,
And
like.
also behind him, following, is every single person he ever knew.
Yeah. He's like,
Just rounded them up all with glasses
Yeah.
of water.
excuse me, like, I have to go back to my job. Shut up. Shut up while I fucking murder you and this bitch.
Well, sure, the security guard would follow him up as well.
Yeah, because he knows him. And all his flatmates would all just walk into the room as well. Sorry.
Do you think the flatmate that let him in and like saw that Danny DeVito was going to take care of him went to bed
God, it's Danny DeVito.
went to bed with a smile on his face because he's like, finally, man, Tommy's pulled.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
job.
Tommy! Oh,
Then you like Tommy would have a kink then because it would be like, "Mum,"
And you'd be like, oh no, Tommy.
He's been on-
Phil floored.
Oh no, Tommy puts glass against him.
Yeah. So, oh, Tommy. That sounds suspiciously like stabbing sounds.
That sounds like it would definitely trend in the UK on Pornhub.
Yeah. Step mummy shows step daughter how to
be Danny DeVito.
how to murder Tommy. Oh man, I want to know. A more interesting creepypasta would have been the adventure of that little thing getting to Tommy, as you said, for all these trials. Because at the end of the day, if he's done all that, he deserves to murder the kid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine if he was just there like, Tommy, go away, bollocks. Smashes the glass on the floor. He's like,
We just opens the door and he's like, "Can I come in?" He's like,
No.
"No."
as you were.
Here's your water.
Yeah, he just gives it to him. He's like, I got it in the cup you like. I don't want to let you in. Fuck you. Just walks on. Just goes next door. Roger! It's the same voice, little bitch. Roger! Roger, I know you're having night terrors. Fuck off.
His flatmate's like, oh my god, really kinky.
Also,
cheating on him now?
surely it kills everyone that lets it in. So surely it killed the security officer as soon as he let him in.
No.
Buzz me in. Yep. Hey, fuck out. Got him.
Okay. Yeah, that was the end of the creepy Pastorino bingo Maloney's.
And also the end of our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us for the late shift. If you survived to this timestamp, congratulations. We're proud of you. You have successfully wasted your time.
Doing better than me.
You have successfully.
You have successfully wasted your time. I have been Valentina.
I'm just thinking of like you successfully wasted your time.
Just like a hatch opens and one balloon just falls
Yeah. One balloon in a glass of water just smashes onto the floor.
I have been Valentina. I hope to be Valentina again next week.
No, I want to be Valentina next week. Can we swap?
Yeah,
Okay.
you said it like you were
have
a
to put
demon,
a
a demon
you have to put a
possessing
form in.
Val who has a tenant lease. Like,
You have to put a form
I hope to be Val next week, but my rent's due with Satan, so I may be asked to evict this body, and my asshole brother's gonna get it.
You have to put a form in, and then maybe we'll consider it.
So, what's the name of the person you're trying to possess? Okay, well, it's gonna cost you what hellbucks. That's the pastor I want to. Yeah, souls. It would be souls.
Okay, so that's the end of the late shift. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Val.
I am Saul.
I am James.
Still Jonah.
Barely. Thank you so much. Have a nice week. We'll see you soon. Bye.